global platform. Human connections, providing the groundwork for comprehension, empathy, and cooperation, essential for constructing peaceful and sustainable societies. When individuals communicate in their native languages, the likelihood of accurately conveying the emotions increases, promoting profound connections and mutual understanding. Recognizing and honoring this need, every year on February 21st, International Mother Language Day is observed to commemorate linguistic diversity and advocate for the use of mother languages in preserving cultural heritage. So this International Language Day lets witness how technology can play a crucial role in facilitating inclusive communication, guaranteeing that a variety of voices are acknowledged and embraced in our ever more interconnected world as MGIP collaborates with Bhashini today. Bhashini, the National Language Technology Mission, an initiative by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, was launched in July 2022 to provide language technology solutions as digital public goods with the aim to enhance internet accessibility and digital services in Indian languages, creating a multi-stakeholder ecosystem for delivering a scalable solution for digitizing Indian languages. UNESCO MGIP is a Category 1 research institute of UNESCO focused on building and mainstreaming social and emotional skills in education systems. The institute's mission is to build kinder brains through educational interventions rooted in the sciences of learning and through affordances provided by the digital education ecosystem. Framer Space is UNESCO MGIP's indigenous online learning platform powered by artificial intelligence, fully complied with GDPR. It provides free access to MGIP's social emotional learning courses for learners worldwide. With Bhashini, all courses on Framer Space will be accessible in every Indian language, extending education to every Indian street, exemplifying technology-led inclusion. I'm confident that this partnership between MGIP and Bhashini is committed to bridging the gap and ensuring that education reaches every doorstep by eliminating the barriers of language and communication, truly embodying the vision of Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. To honor this occasion, we have with us our distinguished guest, Dr. Bhagwati Prakash Sharma, Chairperson, UNESCO MGIP, Mr. Shombi Sharp, United Nations Resident Coordinator, Ms. Nandini Chatterjee, Senior Program Officer, UNESCO MGIP, and Dr. Amitabh Nag, CEO Bhashini. I would like to invite all our guests to please come on the stage. So before you take your seats, may I please invite you for the ceremonial lighting of the lamp. I hope you like the surprise, students. Now I request Dr. Bhagwati Prakash Sharma, Chairperson UNESCO MGIP, to kindly come to the dais and inaugurate the event with his welcome address. Sir.
Esteemed Mr. Shombi Sharp, UN Resident Coordinator in India. He has been looking after all the UN affairs in India. Esteemed Mr. Amitabh, the CEO of the Bhashini, the translation version of the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Esteemed Dr. Nandini Chatterjee, faculty members, dear students. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all and the UN Resident Coordinator, Mr. Shombi Sharp and Amitabh, on this occasion of Mother Tongue Day. Indeed, Mother Tongue is the real means in which one can express his or her feelings. And Mother Tongue is the first language which one learns. And therefore, launching or signing of this MOU between UNESCO Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Education for Peace and Sustainable Development and Bhashini is really a nice coincidence. Today, we have been experiencing vast disparities in the world. The globe is experiencing worst ever pollution and challenges to environment. And at the same time, we see that at many places, peace and tranquility are also affected. And therefore, Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Education for Peace and Sustainable Development has been playing an important role in bringing peace, in ensuring that the development takes place with sustainability. And in addition to this, I would also like to mention here that UNESCO Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Education for Peace and Sustainable Development has been working in all Asia Pacific nations. Very recently, the institute has signed an MOU with Seychelles. There in Seychelles, they have problem of bullying even in primary classes. And therefore, the kind of challenges which we have been experiencing these days, I think they can be well met by research and educational institute like MGIEP. And we have the challenge that across the world there are more than 6,000 languages. Even in India, we have 22 official languages, and otherwise there are more than 1,000 dialects popular in various parts. And therefore, by signing this MOU, the task of MGIEP would become much easier in disseminating the knowledge and in teaching. For example, very recently, the MGIEP has signed an MOU with the Delhi Education Board, and almost more than 1,000 master trainers have been trained. They have trained almost 50,000 teachers, and now they have been bringing all these tenets into their teaching, like peace, sustainable development, particularly biodiversity, sensitivity towards sustaining biodiversity, sustainable development, global citizenship. So all these tenets are being taught to the students, and this has been bringing remarkable change in the behavior, conduct and behavior of the students. So actually how to ingrain the right values so that they are reflected in the conduct and behavior of the students. So in this regard, I think the signing of MOU would be a landmark. So once again, I welcome the dignitaries on the dais and the audience that you are all witness today in this epoch-making event where MGIEP would become more effective in transmitting all its values. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your valuable thoughts. And I hope this is just the beginning. So, as you mentioned, there are more than 6,000 languages. So, I am sure that many platforms like Bhashini are going to be launched by our government soon, which will help us translate not only our courses, like courses from the world, to translate into all those 6,000 languages. So, okay, now continuing with the proceedings, I would like to invite Mr. Shombi Shah, the United Nations Resident Coordinator, to kindly address the audience with his opening remarks and officially commence the event. Sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Richa. And it's a great honor to be here on behalf of the United Nations country team in India and as representative of the UN Secretary General to join Dr. Sharma, chairperson of MGIEP, here on the stage, and Sri Nag, Mr. Nag, CEO of Bhashini. Really a truly incredible an exciting initiative of government to leverage the power of AI and of the digital world that we live in now. And Ms. Chatterjee as well, leading so many exciting directions of work at MGIEP in terms of research and development and science. And to join all of you here today who have taken your time to be with us. आपके बीच में आकर मुझे बहुत खुशी हो रही है. This International Day of Mother Language, I think, is something that really calls for congratulations to MGIEP and UNESCO and to Bhashini for, really marking not only this day for the importance of the day, which we do each and every year, but to understand how rapidly things are changing in this space and how important for social, emotional learning and development it is that we come together and ensure that the power of AI is leveraged for inclusive communication and education in mother tongues. Now, it was over 70 years ago that the famous mathematician Alan Turing sort of predicted that the world would one day be transformed by thinking machines, by this sort of generative AI. And while this has, for those in the business, been a long-running process, for those of us mere mortals, citizens, it's really, I think, finally come to the fore in really just the last year, actually, if you think about it. I mean, the large language models, the ChatGPT, where suddenly everybody realized, wow, okay, this is really happening. And in a way that every average citizen can engage with and use the technology. But this is driving progress, not just in that sense, but across all spheres, all sectors, education, the entire sustainable development panoply. And our UN agencies are engaged in so many different areas to help ensure inclusive growth in the economy, food security for all, healthcare, you name it. There isn't an element of life today that isn't being touched by these new technologies. And the urgency is more than ever before. As the world came together last year at the SDG Summit, we realized that at halfway to 2030, we are frighteningly behind. As you've probably already heard, only 15% of global targets are on track in terms of the SDGs. And fully a third have either stalled or are even in reverse. And this, of course, is the result of a polycrisis, still even trying to emerge from a long-running pandemic. And the impacts, overlapping impacts of wars, of multiple wars, of climate change, of the triple planetary crisis, of biodiversity loss, of supply chain failures, and increases in the cost of living, of debt. whereas, more than half of humanity lives in countries that pay more on their debt than they can invest in health care and education. So the good news is that India is uniquely positioned, really, to take advantage of the potential of AI and to provide a platform to ensure that this technology works for humanity with a world-leading tech stack of digital public infrastructure, a world-beating IT sector, services, and so much research capacities, human resources, with a growing dynamic startup sector as well, research hubs. India truly has the potential to become a global hub, not just for AI, but AI in an inclusive sense, as a public good. India has one of the world's highest STEM graduate ratios for students. And importantly, men and women are now at parity within the STEM sector. The 2023 Stanford Vibrancy Report placed India at the top in terms of gender inclusion in the AI ecosystem. Of course, we need to translate that parity into parity within the job market. That's a challenge in every country in the world. And the promise is absolutely immense. Niti Aayog has estimated that AI has the potential to add $1 trillion to the Indian economy by 2030 alone. And as a leading voice for the global South, through South-South cooperation, India is pushing for equitable access to digital transformations across the world, and including sharing its own digital architecture with other countries. And I think Bashini is no exception in that regard. India's national education policy, 2020, recognizes the central importance of technology-based learning as a major component for education, embracing this world within which AI applications and the importance of translation, the importance of inclusion of mother tongue for all students is recognized. So it goes without saying, as was already mentioned, that mother tongue, mother language is deeply tied to one's identity, to one's culture. And it goes without saying that India is one of the most incredibly diverse countries in the world. An unbelievably fantastic wealth of diversity, and which languages represents an important dimension of that diversity. And research has proven long ago that students perform better academically when they are taught in their mother tongue, especially in the earlier stages of education. We know that when students are able to engage with material and discussions in their mother tongue, they become much better at problem-solving tasks, and they can think more creatively and more critically, or at least rather are able to express their thinking better. And that's why this collaboration between UNESCO, MGIP, and Bashini is so important, and an excellent demonstration of how AI can be used not only to accelerate growth and inclusion and the SDGs, but also to preserve India's rich cultural inheritance moving forward. AI, I think, can be an incredible tool as India stands at the cusp, the early stages of an unbelievable demographic dividend potential. India has the world's greatest youth generation, more young minds to tap than any country has ever had before. Many here in the room today. And if India's youth are equipped with 21st century skills, with access to mother tongue education as well, this will not only deliver prosperity and sustainability here in India, but because India quite literally is the most important country in terms of scale for delivering the global SDG goals, that India's progress will mean the world's progress. So here in India, the UN agencies, the UN, we have 26 different entities, are all engaged in leveraging AI and in leveraging India's incredible cultural diversity, including languages, across the range from combating air pollution, reducing carbon emissions, data-driven, helping to provide data-driven policymaking under the leadership and in partnership with government. So we also know, as the Secretary General has said, that AI managed poorly can actually multiply challenges and inequalities. So what we have to do here today and moving forward is ensure that AI does not become the great divider along with digital divide, but rather becomes a great equalizer. And this topic of mother tongue access and leveraging these technologies, such as the mission of Bhashini and UNESCO MGIP, is absolutely right there at the core of this. And India is continuing to lead. The Secretary General has convened a global advisory board on AI, launched last October. The advisory board's recommendations will feed into the global summit of the future this coming September and a proposed global digital compact. And I'm pleased to say that there are several brilliant Indian thought leaders within that global panel. So to conclude, let us all ensure that we use these technologies for the preservation of cultural diversity, of inclusive development, and sustainability in this planet, our only home. I'd like to close by saying thank you, making an attempt to say thank you in just a few of India's incredible 22 languages. Dhanyavad, Nigobar, Dhanyavad, Abar, Nandi, Manasahaya, Shukriya, Bahut Bahut Dhanyavad.
After listening to your insightful words, I have only one thing to say. हमें भी बहुत खुशी हुई आपके आने से. Okay, so moving on, I would like to invite Mr. Ajay on the stage to please facilitate the next agenda of the day, which is the launch and demo of Bhashini use cases. Mr. Ajay.
So I'll be taking 2 minutes to set up the demo for the input and output, because language actually on computer works on input and output devices. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Requesting all guests to please take seats in the front row, please. Can I have his input on the screen, please? No, that's fine. Sure. Yeah, we have cut it on the screen. So let me just start with the first application that is built within Bhashini. It's a first use case to transcend the language barrier. So it's an application for live speech-to-speech translation, in which you can translate from one language to another language in the near real time. The beauty of this particular application that we have developed is that we have provided a UI where user can select its own choice of model as per the accuracy, as per the experience the person is going to have. So I'll start with a quick demonstration of doing English to Hindi. I'll select the model of my choice because I'm quite often using this particular application on various places. So let me choose my selections, and I have to click on start, and after that, whatever I'm going to speak, if the echo cancellation is happening correctly from the AV room, you will see the translation is coming in near real time. Hello guys, how are you?
हेलो दोस्तों, आप कैसे हैं?
It's good to be here at Dr. Ambedkar International Center.
डॉक्टर अंबेडकर इंटरनेशनल सेंटर में आकर अच्छा लगा।
So you might have been thinking that why I'm taking a pause, because the complete setup involves audio engineering in which I can cancel the echo input, and there's a noise cancellation and level settlement. So that's the reason I was taking a pause. So see, this is how the application of near real translation works. So this is one of the use case that I've shown. The same application is having 4 use cases in which we are having a VC application in which a person living in Gujarat is speaking Gujarati. I can hear Hindi here. Similarly, we are having a same use case in which if I want to share one media content that is in English and I want to hear it in Hindi, I can share that. And last one, that is actually an interesting use case. If I want to broadcast what I'm saying right now, need to be broadcasted on a streaming platform, I can do that as well. So that was the first use case of Bhashani near real-time application. Moving to the next one, that is actually as a kind of impacting one. It's a Kisan e-Mitra. How many of you have heard about PM Kisan scheme? It's a scheme in which like 11 crore farmers are getting an amount directly from Prime Minister's 6,000. And along with that, like the impact is to the all farmers because we have integrated these schemes, guidelines, documents, and SHS also. So this is how the console opens. It's on Android web, Android and iOS app also. I'm demonstrating right now on the web portal. The Kisan comes and select the languages.
हिंदी,
And then it asks the query related to the PM Kisan scheme in its native language. So right now we are serving on 5 use cases in which the farmer is asking, Bhugtan kyun nahi mila? Why my payment is not there? What is the problem with my PM Kisan account? What is the benefit of PM Kisan scheme? That's how all farmers are downloading the app. So I'll demonstrate you one. मेरे पीएम किसान खाते में पैसे कब आएंगे? So you see here the beauty of Bhashani is the first when I spoken like मेरे किसान खाते में पैसे कब आएंगे, it took my voice and it ASR'd it. Automatic speech recognition happened. That's the first thing on Bhashani layer. Second layer, what it happens is when I'm going to enter this particular query by clicking here, it is going to check the intent, like what this person is asking for. Is it asking for the payment? Is it asking for the scheme? Is it asking for any question, or it's a kind of play with the system? So that intent is classified and then it responds back.
प्रिय लाभार्थी, पीएम किसान लाभार्थी की स्थिति की जांच करने के लिए नीचे दिए गए चरणों का पालन करें।
So now it's a complete content it's going to read out. So the app speaks as well. And then it's going to ask me my PM Kisan ID. If I'm having that handy, it's going to ask me an Aadhaar card or a mobile number. Here's a network problem, so I'm not going to use my mobile number here. So after that, the OTP comes and then it matches. Like this particular mobile number or PM Kisan ID is existing into the database. Yes? Okay. Let me move ahead and then check why this person is not getting the payment. And there is a solution there also, the related problem and the solution, that his bank account number is not linked with the Aadhaar, so he responds back. So this is how the total impact is. The number of calls received at the call center were in lakhs, so we reduce it in numbers of thousands. Thank you guys. So as we move to agriculture, let me just move to defense a bit. So this is one startup of Celestia incubated under Bhashani startup scheme. And the main purpose of the problem statement or the use cases, let me just give you an overview of that. There are a lot of inventories in the ammunition factories. That's what they have taken as a context. It's very hard to say which unit, which regiment got which ammunition block or what kind of hardware they requested. It's very hard to trace and track, and everything is on file because it's a bit of confidential thing. So what we propose is, like we proposed, guys, can you make this kind of stuff where we can search the inventory sort of stuff through voice, and that to a secure, that through a blockchain. So this is how we did, and then we created an inventory by creating a dummy inventory of the defense materials. And I'll show you like how Bhashini plays its role in the defense segment by searching the inventory of ammunitions. So here I'm going to search by voice. I'll ask for aircrafts because that's inventory, because are easy inventory and the ASR can easily detect it. So let me just do a sample query. I'll ask in Hindi. Aircrafts का डाटा बताओ. Is going to translate. Is there net issue or what? So its response back with the result includes a
परिणाम में एक विशिष्ट उपयोगकर्ता के स्वामित्व वाले निर्माता पर स्थित अवरोधन और पराजय के लिए विशेषताओं के साथ एक अवरोधक लड़ाकू विमान का सारांश शामिल है.
So it taken my query as in like ASI speech to text happened, and then it took that particular part, aircraft I searched for, so I can use ammunition, 0.5 mm pistol ammos, these kind of intents the startup is working on. This is how we can shortlist the entire inventory, and we are coming up with the more accurate point of entering the data, updating the data, deleting the data from the inventory through voice. So this is a kind of a defense use case I've just demonstrated. Now coming to the main use case, that is of, let me just open that. It is open for the public. So this is somehow related to the other translators available in the market. It's for the general public. You can use this particular thing for the daily use of the translations. By using this, you can convert voice to text. You can speak and that particular thing can be converted into text, then you can translate it. You can do speech to speech as well, and you can do text to text as well. So as slowly I'm moving from agriculture to defense, let me just move to payment a bit. This is how like I say that it is a kind of a playing with the system, the demonstration of NPCI use case. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to dial a number. It's a number, you can dial it over a feature phone as well. Once you dial it, it'll ask you for what you want to do. Do you want to send a payment? Do you want to check a balance? Do you want to play with the system? Just let us know. So this is how the Bhashini is playing role on the payment part by the NPCI Hello Voice Payments app. So without wasting time, let me just show you the demonstration. So I'm going to give you a number only after demonstration so that you can also try that.
हाय, कृपया बताएं कि आप क्या करना चाहते हैं।
प्रिया को पैसे भेजना चाहते हैं।
कृपया वह राशि बोलें।
10 रुपए।
माफ करें, हमें समझ नहीं आया। कृपया वह राशि बोलें।
10 रुपए।
प्रिय को 10 रुपए ट्रांसफर कर रहे हैं। कृपया अपने कोटक महिंद्रा बैंक का यूपीआई पिन दर्ज करें। ट्रांजैक्शन सफल रहा।
Okay. So me and sir usually demonstrate this NPCI and my wife gets 50, 60 rupees in a day. So let me just tell you the technology behind it now. So the moment I said, I dialed on a number, it's a IVRS number of NPCI. So I dialed a number and the system asked me, what do you want to do? I said, I want to send payment to my wife. And I've saved my wife's name in the system, like it's because my UPI number. So the system knows, like I'm asking Priya, Priya means her number. He said, okay, पैसे भेजना चाहते हैं, you want to send money, tell me the amount. So the first phase, the Bhashini technology works when my voice was converted into text, speech to text. After that, it asked for kya karna chahte hain. Then I said, I want to send money. So it classified the intent that this person wants to send money. Then he asked, to whom? I said, Priya. So Priya means my wife. So the UPI number is attached. It's okay. Then I said, the system responded back, how much you want to send? Then I said 10 rupee. I said 10 rupees. So the Bhashini's ITN, inverse text normalization technology, comes in picture. Starts an action that 10 rupee, 10 rupees means 10. Convert it to 10, put it in the system and ask for my UPI pin and the payment is sent. Now my wife will be happy. So let me just give you an more clarity that we are moving ahead with the more use cases in this IVRS. Soon you will be able to recharge your FASTags, electricity bill. See how cool it is to say, Mera bijli ka bill bhar do. Then it's asked for your CRN number. So this is how we are reinventing the user journey. So this was the last use case, and soon we will be coming up with more use cases so that we can make life easy and we can actually impact the last mile. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Ajay. I mean, this is truly remarkable. I mean, I was literally amazed. I hope all of you have enjoyed and you all are going to incorporate this technology into your works, in your everyday life, wherever possible, right? Okay. So now the time has come to unveil our Memorandum of Understanding between Bhashini and UNESCO MGIP. So I welcome Mr. Amitabh Nag, CEO Bhashini, and Dr. Nandini Chatterjee, Senior Program Officer, UNESCO MGIP, to please join us on stage and commence the MOU signing ceremony. Yeah, sure, please. Thank you so much, Dr. Amitabh and Dr. Nandini, for exchanging the MOUs. Moving to our next agenda, I would like to turn the floor over to my dear colleague, Dr. Shitanshu Mishra, who will lead and facilitate the next section, which is an insightful panel discussion centered around the theme of AI for inclusive learning. You want to give demo first? All right, okay. Sure. So before that, we will, Shitanshu will give a demo of our indigenous platform, which is Framer Space. So Shitanshu, over to you.
Can you switch to this screen? All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Shitanshu, and I am responsible for digital learning AI initiatives at UNESCO MGIEP. So before the panel discussion, we had this agenda of demoing our learning platform, and then how our collaboration with Bhashini has led us to facilitate more and more learners across the country. Briefly, to start with, UNESCO MGIP is UNESCO's one of the Category 1 institutions, and our vision is to use educational innovations to address peace and sustainable development. We have a lot of courses on peace and sustainability, and those courses, they reside on our in-house developed learning platform known as Framer Space. So this is the home screen of Framer Space. All the courses on Framer Space are open and freely available, accessible to everyone. So what we started doing with Bhashini, we used APIs of automated speech recognition, machine learning based language translations, and then again text to speech conversions to translate the contents of our existing courses. Here I'm going to show you one of the popular courses that we have on social emotional learning for teachers. So this one is the English version of the course. So our courses typically, they consist of several modules. And within the modules, we have a lot of multimedia content that includes text content as well as video, as well as visuals, graphics, so on and so forth. And all these contents are also interleaved by quizzes, assessment questions. So you can see all the content here is in English, and using Bhashini's APIs, we were able to successfully translate it into different Indian languages. Here I'm showing you 5 languages. This one is in Marathi. The other, you can see this one is Gujarati. This one is in Hindi, followed by Bengali and then Punjabi. So this was really, thank you, maybe up, yeah. So this was really very easy with the APIs that Bhashini shared with us, translating all the text and all. After this, what we did, we went ahead and tried Bhashini's APIs to translate the videos we have. Maybe let's look at the videos. So this is one of the videos that we use. It is a Creative Commons license video, and the original language of this video was in English, and then we translated in from English to those 5 languages. So maybe I'll play them, parts of them quickly.
મને લાગે છે કે નોકરી એ આપણા વર્ગખંડમાં આપણા વિદ્યાર્થીઓ માટે ફરજિયાત જવાબદારી છે. હું તેમને શાળાના પહેલા જ દિવસે કહું છું, વર્ષના તમારા કાર્યના પ્રથમ દિવસે તમારું સ્વાગત છે.
This one is in Gujarati.
मुझे लगता है कि नौकरी हमारी कक्षा में हमारे छात्रों के लिए एक अनिवार्य जिम्मेदारी है. मैं उन्हें स्कूल के पहले दिन ही बताता हूँ, वर्ष के लिए अपने काम के पहले दिन आपका स्वागत है. जब भी हम स्कूल आते हैं तो हम अपनी नौकरी पर होते हैं.
मला असे वाटते की नोकरी ही आपल्या वर्गातील
This is Marathi.
विद्यार्थ्यांची अनिवार्य जबाबदारी आहे. मी त्यांना शाळेच्या पहिल्याच दिवशी सांगतो, वर्षाच्या तुमच्या कामाच्या पहिल्या दिवशी तुमचे स्वागत आहे. प्रत्येक वेळी जेव्हा
ਮੈਂ ਮਹਿਸੂਸ ਕਰਦਾ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਨੌਕਰੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਕਲਾਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਡੇ ਵਿਦਿਆਰਥੀਆਂ ਲਈ ਇੱਕ ਲਾਜ਼ਮੀ ਜ਼ਿੰਮੇਵਾਰੀ ਹੈ. ਮੈਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਕੂਲ ਦੇ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਦਿਨ ਹੀ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਹਾਂ, ਸਾਲ ਦੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਕੰਮ ਦੇ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਦਿਨ ਦਾ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ. ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ
I feel that jobs are a mandatory responsibility for our students
This
in our
is English,
classroom.
the original source language. Okay, so these are the 2 directions we are looking into. One is all the textual translations. Then second is the translations of the video content. And this was really important for us because most of the courses we had were in English, and reaching out to all the 28, more than 28 states now, and they have their own languages was very difficult. So for Indian languages, UNESCO MGIP is looking forward to more and more further collaboration with Bhashini. Thank you very much. So let's move on to our next event. Okay, so may I call our panelist on the stage, Mr. Amitabh, Ms. Dipakshi, Ms. Anita. Anisha, are you here? Oh. Maybe we can switch the screen to the background. Yeah, we need to change. I can sit at the corner. All right. Okay, so hello again. So it's important to briefly discuss, briefly introduce my work at MGIP. So I work at MGIP as Chief of Digital Learning and AI, and my background is educational technology. Professionally, I'm educational technology scientist, and we'll start with the panel with a background from fundamentals. Let's start from the fundamentals. Let's look into the breakthroughs that humanity has made till date. If we want to list them, we can recall fire, we can recall agriculture, wheels, then aeroplanes, so on and so forth, right? And two more important, two items are also in the list, which include languages, internet, and AI, right? So now humanity has been trying its level best to use or leverage all these breakthroughs to reach sustainable development, to ensure that we achieve human flourishing, right? And here, today in this panel, we are trying to talk about two of these breakthroughs, which is AI, and the second one is language. So diversity in education, how can AI and how can language together, they can come together and help in ensuring inclusion and diversity in education. We have a panel of experts with us. We have Mr. Amitabh Nag, CEO, Bhashini Mighty, Government of India. We have Ms. Dipakshi Mahendru, Director, Government Affairs from Intel. We have Anisha Jyoti, CEO, Founder, Language Curry. Then we have from UNESCO MGIP, Dr. Nandini Chatterjee. She is Head of Research and Development at the Institute. So let's start with our first question to Amitabh. You maybe you can tell us more about your interests. We all know about the organizations. So starting with your areas of interest, then can you give us more insights on the strategic objectives of Bhashini? What are you looking forward to? And a more specific questions on how do you envision Bhashini evolving into an everyday tool for general. We saw everyday tool in the form of translations. How do you see Bhashini in those directions? Over to you, Amitabh.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for having me here. You know, more specifically, if I look at what Bhashini is supposed to be doing, is, you know, it is a Government of India mission for language translation. So, in all, it is called as National Language Translation Mission, translating one language to other. And the idea is to ensure that the internet and digital world is all inclusive in as far as language is concerned. So, what we did before I come to the strategic intent, and that would specify how we are going about it. You know, this was a problem which we are trying to sort out currently for 22 Indian languages, because of the fact that, you know, we can take a limited amount of problem statement right now. We are pulling across 4 major verticals. One is the automatic speech recognition. Some of it you saw in the demonstration, that we are able, and our vision is to recognize the voice in 22 languages. Currently, we do well in 12. Then we are also doing text-to-text translation. Text-to-text means if it is encoded in one language, we translate to the other language, and that too, we do it well today on 22 languages. We are almost there as far as our targeting is concerned. Then we also do text-to-speech generation. So you saw this demonstration that computer is able to speak out what is encoded in the data as far as the speech is concerned. Beyond that, one of the age-old problem was to read the printed text. So we are also doing the automatic speech, optical character recognitions, that is OCR. And we are attempting to do what is there in you know, handwritten or scenic text. Scenic text would mean that if I am on a railway station or a platform or going at an airport, I should be able to capture some of the scenes there and translate it. So that's how the entire activities are outlined. Now, if you actually look at it, when I do all of this, the power you have already seen, that I am able to actually use the speech recognition, text-to-text translation, and text-to-speech to actually create a pipeline by which I am able to do speech-to-speech, right? So when we do multilingual speech-to-speech, you know, we are in some way actually bridging the digital divide as well as bridging the literacy divide. So if a person knows how to speak, and he knows how to, you know, perhaps pick up one or two things, you know, he at least is able to put in the PIN number. He is able to transfer the money. He does not need to be literate, you know. And in fact, somebody can just dial a number and say that, Papa ko paise transfer kar do, kitne paise transfer karne, 100 rupaye karne, and 100 rupaye karke, it moves through. So you are basically looking at a very powerful tool to bridge the digital as well as the literacy divide through this particular, you know, enabling the complete pipeline. And some of the demonstrations you saw, you know, and you were in a position to outline that this is what it can achieve. The strategic objective, again, is that when I start my day, I should be with my mother tongue throughout the day. You know, I am basically talking to Sitanshu, I should be talking in my own mother tongue. I want to basically help my children catch a school bus. I should be doing that in mother tongue. I should be going to a kirana shop speaking in mother tongue. I should be getting my education or my office work all in mother tongue. So all of this are specifically related to those transactions, you know, which we are doing on day-to-day basis, and that is what is our aim. And what is that we need to do for that? We need to actually make our models perfect. So one of the reasons why, you know, Bhashini exists in this world, which is basically a world populated by other technologies. So I want to make it clear that we are basically looking at 100% perfect translation. And that is where our goal is. we cannot fail in a financial transaction of payment. The demo which you saw cannot fail. If it fails, then the money would go somewhere else, right? So that's not what we are looking at. Second thing, we are trying to cover all the 22 languages, which is basically ensuring that India is inclusive. And, further languages are dependent upon how the mission progresses. So the other part of it is that this particular technology should remain, affordable, because what we are envisioning and we want to be envisioning over a period of time is that people would start getting dependent on this technology, and this technology would be used normally for communication and collaboration and education and development, etc. And hence this needs to be consistently affordable. And beyond that, yes, we want more technologies to, evolve under this principle. So we are actually here in the market to ensure that we are perfect, we are affordable, we are covering all the languages, we are inclusive all through, and we are covering the day-to-day transactions with ownership. Not saying that this particular translation is, I have translated, you see if it is good, you use it, otherwise you leave it. That's not what we are looking at. And that's where, this means you can't go wrong in a video translation of education material. Having said that, the road is not easy. When we started, for example, the payment use case, which we just saw, we, did our models. We were happy with our benchmark results. We took the models to do the payment. Our accuracy dropped from 100% to 50%. Sometimes it was 40% for some languages. And because the payment domain has different words, right? And if you actually look at it when it was demonstrated, it was not demonstrated as perfect Hindi. Priya ko paise bhej do, like, paise bhejna chahta hu. It is a broken Hindi, it's not full things. So our intent capture as well as the model training on the local languages, on the specific domains has taken a lot of time. And it actually takes about 2 to 3 months for any model to translate. If you see the transcription which is happening, the two screens which are put in, it also is dependent upon the way I speak and the way the audio is functioning, right? So many a times it is skipping a word, not because, the model is not working, because of the interleaving technologies which are there. So there is a lot of journey which requires to be taken up, and we are looking at how do I bring the platforms. So currently, the National Hub of Language Technology, which is the platform we developed, is actually rendering these models, the AI models, as a service. And it is, a robust platform, which actually is about having 100,000 to 150,000 hits a day. That means 1 lakh to 1.5 lakh hits a day, which, looks for inferencing and transferring. And it helps, it is helping about, currently we are serving approximately 100 plus customers through that platform. And we increasingly find this growing in our future things. We also have launched a Bhashini app, which you can download from Google Play Store and App Store. And we would be coming up many of these utility apps as we are looking forward to in the market.
Yeah. So, in a nutshell, what I can conclude from here is creating everyday technology that is for everyday need and everyday use. We need to focus on accuracy and we need to focus on affordability, right? So this was from the technology side. Now let's look more into education, learning, and language side. So coming to you, Nandini, from your neuroscience experience, can you throw insights into the science of learning, how language, specifically mother tongue, influences learning? How this is very important, our topic is very important, learning in mother tongue.
I think probably all of you are aware that language is what has enabled human beings to be different and sets them apart along the line of evolution. Okay? It's language which is a very important aspect of. And so there's been a lot of focus on encouraging mother tongue learning from a context of understanding culture, understanding your environment. But I think you'll be amazed to know that over the last 35 years, because we now have the technology to look into the brain as language learning happens, it's amazing what language does to the brain, okay? And that's phenomenal. So I want to talk about that for maybe 2 minutes and then bring in the role of the mother tongue, okay? So language is your way of making sense of the world, okay? So if you quickly go through of how that's what's really the basis of cognition. Language learning happens in a social setting. So if you don't have people around you, even though human beings are wired to learn. So there is a region in your brain on the left side and on the right side, but the left is dominant, which is called Broca's area. It's called the inferior frontal gyrus, which is meant for spoken language. Okay? But as you heard Mr. Nag talk about the fact that language is much more than just learning to speak. It's also learning to read and write and communicate. So when language learning begins to happen, and it happens in childhood in an immersive way, so it happens during everyday experience. Okay? This region in the brain starts to connect to multiple other regions in the brain, okay? Because there is sensory activity happening, there is motor activity happening. And as a consequence, the whole process of language learning builds the basis for social communication, even cognition, and plasticity. Okay? So all learning that happens in all of us across our lives happens because of a superpower that all human beings have called neuroplasticity, which means your brain can change. Okay? So because of the input that you get from language, the regions from the auditory communicate and connect with meaning. They communicate with vision and with meaning when you learn to read, and with motor and so on. So as a consequence, the brain starts to build connectivity in the process of language learning. Once you start to learn language, you also develop a vocabulary which allows you to communicate your needs and wants. Okay. That becomes a basis for academic learning and intellectual development. One of the ways that we first recognize there might be something wrong with a child is really the absence of language. Okay? You don't really worry too much if children are speaking, but if they are not communicating and they are not speaking in a language they are exposed to, they don't learn enough, and that's when you begin to worry. So cognition, academic learning, intellectual development, all of these are happening in the context of language. So why is mother tongue so important? Because mother tongue is the first language you learn. It's the primary language which you learn in emotion. You're not brought into a classroom and taught how to do things in the mother tongue. You learn because of the interaction, okay? And that, as a consequence, becomes a primary reason to connect the brain so well. A second aspect, which is what we really want to utilize and build on now, is during the process of mother tongue learning, there's also another very important aspect happening in terms of brain development, and that's emotion learning. So the regions of the brain for emotion also develop around the time that the regions for language development happen in the early years. And so the whole emotion experience aspect, which as a child you encounter, also allows you to develop a vocabulary to express your emotions. And what the science of learning has told us is, only when we feel emotionally secure is the brain available to learn anything new. So ensuring emotional development is critical, is foundational, probably even more foundational than numeracy and literacy. That has to happen first, because unless the brain feels socially connected and emotionally engaged, it will not learn. And to coming back finally to the point that Mr. Nog mentioned, is making everyday transactions sort of easy for people to use. Why is this important? Why can't you do it in a different language? Okay. And here, you might want to think about effort. For everything that you do in a language you are not very comfortable with, the amount of cognitive effort required is much more. Okay? When by enabling and bringing in Bhashini and enabling this aspect, there will be a large number of people who will not only be able to do what they need to do, but they will be able to do it with much lesser effort. And that effort will probably enable them to avail of more opportunity and grow their own potential. And that, I think, is what's going to be really a game changer. The fact that you not only have the opportunity to do it, because it's less effortful, you can probably do many more things and achieve potential. And I think that's why this is going to be a game changer.
Thank you, Nandini, for sharing how the learning of language happens and how language influences learning, especially the mother tongue. Now, switching to Dipakshi. So you are into Intel, and we took this opportunity to bank upon your experience of industry, and specifically related to digital products and digital products on digital governance, right? So how do you think languages play a role in influencing the user base of digital products?
Thank you so much for that question, Shitanshu. And building on to actually what Dr. Nag and Dr. Chatterjee mentioned, I would say and minus the digital element of the products, right? When we, let's say, just talk about products, or when we just talk about, let's say, services, one of the basic features, or for that matter, what is language really? I'll go back to absolutely the basics, right? A basic currency in which you can exchange ideas, in which you can agree, in which you can disagree. Building on to what Dr. Chatterjee just mentioned, I would just add one more element to that from a very, very product-centric mindset. That is, language is also the modicum in which you build trust. And when you talk about building trust, a couple of, I would say, salient features that really come about. One, language, or for that matter, whatever is being communicated, it needs to be clear and concise, unambiguous. Second, it needs to cater to an audience. That is, whether you should use jargons, whether you should deride the conversation of jargons, how much do you need to speak at a layperson level, how much do you need to speak at a subject matter expert level, and from where perhaps the conversation this day began with Dr. Richa's comment, opening remark with with Nelson Mandela's speech around, if you speak with me in my mother tongue, you speak with my heart. And that is where I would say the third big aspect of language, therefore, is whether I feel respected enough to trust that conversation, to trust that product, to trust that interaction. And that is where the cultural sensitivities come in. Now, adding a layer of digital products or digital goods to this, I would say we are now suddenly talking about a format where it is not just a one-to-one conversation. It, in most of the cases, is going to be one-to-many conversation. And we are not talking about thousands. In our country, at any point in time, it would be 1 to lakhs and 1 to million conversations. And there, perhaps these few pillars further get exasperated. And that is where it is not just about whether it is clear, it is also about whether everybody who's using that language or using that tool has a common understanding of what it is trying to do. The second piece to me there would also be whether I'm getting consistent information across various sources. And I think in the age that we are at, I would say various verified sources are giving me the same information for me to build trust. The third part of a digital product, and that is where I feel the mother tongue or the language really, really plays a role also, is how sensitive it is, how much it builds, or it, let me put it the other way, how much it addresses discrimination actively by creating access, by creating inclusion, by creating equity. And the last part, especially in the era of digital public infrastructure and digital public goods, where we are talking about transactions and we are talking about interactions that run into millions, billions in a year, the scale at which these languages really help build the products. Now, answering your question more directly, I would surmise this in, you know, three broad pieces. One, when we talk about digital connectivity, because digital divide has fairly been brought in and about a lot of in a lot of instances already. When it comes to, let's say, digital devices, perhaps as a country, we are already at a certain level of penetration. We talk about mobile devices, about 1.6 billion Indians have access to mobile devices, about 0.6 million, about 600 million Indians have access to smartphones. Purely as a percentage, that would come up to about 85% of us have access to mobile phones, about 42% of us have access to smartphones. Adding another layer to it, as per a recent BCG and IMAI report, almost 50% of Indians now have access to internet. However, when we bring the layer of languages, we still have 22 scheduled languages. We have about 32 recognized languages. We have about hundreds and thousands of additional languages, dialects. So while on the one hand, there is the digital divide, and I'm building on to what Dr. Nag mentioned, while there is this conversation on digital divide that has led to a certain level of inclusivity, language continues to be that gaping hole. Because when, let's say, we talk about trust, when we talk about speak with me in the language I understand, that continues to be a gaping hole, which initiatives such as Bhashini are really, really trying to plug. And not on a slightly divergent note, if how this shift is really going to move is, earlier, of course, there were translations, and I'm linking it to OTT, entertainment, right? Earlier, while the conversations were about just language translations, for me to appreciate another culture, or for, you know, building that larger diversity, building that larger appreciation, today a lot of states have their own local OTT platforms, because that kind of gave way to new industry altogether, because people could resonate with those conversations, people could resonate with those charters. The second larger piece here is, many times, especially when we talk about language, AI, or for that matter, AI in general, we talk about job displacements. I'm a strong believer that more than job replacements or displacements, this is an opportunity really for the human-machine partnerships to foster. And something that we all were discussing also earlier, and I'm just building on to that earlier conversation. Today also, when we talk about translations, it's very difficult, even from an NLP perspective, to get a first-time right answer. And while there is a lot of development, a lot of accuracy, and like it was mentioned, this is going to be a progressive journey, it's important that we invest in capabilities and capacities so that humans can further come in and add that value to what the machine and the algorithms are doing. The final nuance there also is, today when we talk about most of the language models or the language products, or how these solutions work, at best, there are just a handful of languages that are trained in. In a country that is as diverse as ours, with various dialects, where dialects change every 100 kilometers, every 100 miles, it is so important to generate data, to generate content indigenously, and not just train the model's basis, what is available, because there will always be this lacuna of language barrier. And that is where the second larger piece I want to leave in terms of the larger trend is, so far, while we talk about mobile content consumption, slowly but steadily and surely, we are going to move into an economy that's really going to become of content creators, of code creators, of people who are actually going to raise up and ask the questions rather than just consume. And to sum it all, and I'll stop in exactly 30 seconds, the third big piece here and the third big part of the digital products and the part that language would play in it is how we are really investing in the human capacity, not just in, and there would be different grades of capacity. Everybody needn't be a creator, everybody needn't be a generator. Even from a citizen perspective, even from an educator's perspective, and that is where it has to be more transdisciplinary in approach how digital products today are created, so that we are not really going back to the basics and we are not really questioning where the entire process started from. I'll pause there.
Maybe can you quickly comment on, so you have seen the affordances that Bhashini provides. How do you see initiatives like Bhashini are going to contribute?
I think they are tectonic game shifters. Today also, and again, I'll go back to the vision that Dr. Nag shared. If the vision is to be accurate 100% of the time, today when we talk about, let's say, generative AI, at best, it is also about use it with caution, use your discretion, use what you are trying to build on top of that. And while it continues to cater to a certain segment of society, I think when we talk about innovation, when we talk about thoughts really don't know the barriers of the language. And it immediately opens up a wide audience, not in terms of just consumers, but also creators from an economic lens. At the same point in time, especially since we were talking about digital public goods and digital infrastructure, initiatives such as Bhashini immediately open up that access to such a massive audience that could otherwise feel left out. That trust deficit that might just stem in because I don't understand what the language is, or it is not in my dialect, or it is not something I can resonate with. This is a mammoth step to taking that first. It's a massive leap. And of course, it's going to be a journey, it's going to be a progression. But nonetheless, this is what really helps you also feel seen. It helps you feel, it helps you feel respected when you talk about it in the larger frame.
Great. So let's switch to Anisha. Anisha is CEO and founder of a startup, Language Curry. It's a startup, I think, on language learning. So to start with, can you tell more about what is Language Curry and what's the objectives and vision, and followed by your experience on language, how language can impact inclusion, specifically using your experiences on ground?
Sure. First of all, thank you, UNESCO and Bhashini, for inviting me. So Language Curry is a language learning app for Indian languages and culture. We are the only app focused on Indian languages. We have reached over 2 million downloads from 185 countries and have managed to create a global brand for Indian languages. The learning on the app is gamified, and we are focused on colloquial learning as of now. And language and inclusivity, it kind of goes hand in hand, because just like in Europe, language is so key to their identity. If you're going to, say, Spain, you would download Duolingo and learn a few words of Spanish to make your stay more confident and inclusive. Similarly, if you happen to go to Tamil Nadu, if you learn Tamil, your experience of your being in Tamil Nadu would be so much more richer. And once there was a Japanese expat who was learning Hindi from the app, and she said that when I speak Hindi to my colleagues and friends, they smile with their heart. And we saw that example here when in the morning Mr. Sharp said thank you in Indian languages. Everybody in the guests and even the cameraman, I noticed, was smiling. And we might not remember the details of his speech, but that one moment, so definitely language triggers and fosters inclusivity globally, everywhere we go, yeah.
So maybe over to you, Amitabh. From your perspective, how do you view Bhashini and similar technological initiatives aimed at fostering inclusion within the society? It would be helpful for all of us to listen to different use cases from your work.
So you saw some of the use cases which were demonstrated in the morning. You know, the use case which was demonstrated on payment, where you're enabling a P2P, that is person-to-person transfer, and you are actually modifying the user journey. That means you can say that this is the name and this is the person, and that too in your own native language. So if you look at that, as far as use cases are concerned, and that Ajay specified on the use cases which will come, we perhaps by March 15th or March 30th will be out in the market to say, FASTag charge kar do, mobile recharge kar do, electricity bill pay kar do, all of it. Some of them are of urban convenience, some of them are of rural outreach, right? So like person-to-person transfer is a rural outreach. Why? Because what all that you're doing is dialing a certain number, right? You're not using smartphone, you're dialing a certain number. Once you dial the certain number, rest of the transactions happen through voice. That means you are actually enabling a person at a rural village to say, bete ko paise transfer kar do, and it happens that way, so if you have stored this thing. So the user journey starts getting reimagined with the inclusivity which is there. The second thing which we are, looking at, which another use case which we are looking at, and this is what we heard when I presented to Chief Justice of India also, is that at least 10% of the cases, court cases, which come to high courts and Supreme Courts are not getting a date because of the languages which are witness, accused, prosecution, and the judge speak different languages, right? And so is there a mechanism of that, making that courtroom multilingual so that you are in a position to actually fast forward this particular activity? When we are discussing, and these are some things which are getting discussed, with the arbitration council, with the other people. Then we come to a situation which is there on our literature books. There are a lot of printed material, and the printed material obviously needs to get translated. That's one part of it, and it's minimal of use case. But is there a possibility of creating audiobook, right? And whenever you are using this particular technology, you create an audiobook and, go away on it. Means, and it is not about learning only. Even, for example, we got a request from Parliament saying that you have certain proceedings of Parliament which are on writing. Can you convert it into an audiobook? So, the audiobook is another area which is there. Now, I land up in another use case which, again, we are working upon. I land up in, say, Bangalore, and I am, wanting to have a cab, and the cab driver knows Kannada, I know Hindi. Can I communicate on mobile to mobile? We incidentally are running grand challenges in all these areas which are there. So, so these are the kind of use cases. Then we talk about school. We take specifically the cases of Kendriya Vidyalaya or Navodaya Vidyalaya, teacher coming from one place, getting posted into other place. Students know another language. They don't know the language which is there, and although the medium of instruction still remains English or Hindi, the challenge which is there, even English or Hindi is not understood by the people, say, who are there in the areas on which these schools are existing. So our whole effort, we are looking at law enforcement. Law enforcement has one sense that whether the person who is enforcing the law and the person to whom he is talking, are they understanding on the similar language? Because when we had our G20 event in Pune, a lot of police officers came to see the translation, because when they are at the border area of Maharashtra and Karnataka, the language barrier comes where they are not able to even figure out how the crime happened and what happened. Or if somebody is coming and seeking help, they are not able to get the things done. A lot of people today, we did, of course, e-filing of complaints, registering of FIR when the people get into trouble. But, the fact is that can I still, in my own language, speak out and file the FIR so that the last mile who is there, who is not having the, advantage of knowing how to write a complaint is also taken care of, right? We launched one of the project which is the Nyaya Setu, which with Department of Justice, again, with an aim to provide help to people on a chatbot. So you can ask a question that I lost my passport, what do I do? So, the chatbot would respond, go to a nearest police station, file a non-cognizable FIR, and then file a new copy that and take it across to the passport office, get some things, or yeah, I lost my driving license, what do I do? Then to a larger question that, a lady, hurt by domestic violence asking, I'm suffering from domestic violence, what do I do? So the options are coming out. These are actually live ongoing cases which needs to get marketed along for the usage. But the fact of the matter is I am taking a absolute use case of information provision to grievance redressal to transactions. And actually, when you look at it, India has been famous for using internet for transactions. It was not using for advertisement or information. It started using internet for transaction, and these are the areas where we will be using it further to actually make the world more transparent and more collaborative, and the learning and development happen more collaborative.
So many use cases. Over to you, Anisha. So your market is language learning market, right? And AI, on the other hand, it may be reducing the demand for language learning because we need to know our native languages, and then AI can do the rest, right? It can translate. So how do you think the initiatives like Bhashini, are they helping you or are they reducing your market demand? How do you feel?
So, as per our research, the market for language learning for Indian languages is around 10 billion US dollars. One of the key segments that are very engaged and important to us are urban migrants, cultural enthusiasts, people, learning for relationships and study. And of course, globally, India has the largest diaspora, and NRIs want to connect to their roots, and they're very important to us as well. So AI tools, will only aid us, and I say that. I'll first also go into how Bhashini has helped us. We've worked with Bhashini to launch a multilingual chatbot on the app to aid learning on the go. So, even if you are, if you want quick translations, like Mr. Nag said, you are in a cab, you want a quick translation, you can't learn right there and then. But even that quick translation will teach you a few words, right? So that on-the-go learning would enable us. Similarly, like we heard that learning from your mother tongue linguistically makes sense. So that is also something that we work with Bhashini on stage 2, is to enable learning from your mother tongue, and that will also make learning so much more easier and effective on the app. And moving on, we want to create content which is intent based, so personalized content, wherein generative AI will also come in hand to hand. So it will definitely be an aid. In fact, I feel like tools like Bhashini would nudge people who are not interested in languages to be interested and maybe come and learn with us. So yes, and even globally, looking at Duolingo was one of the first largest learning companies to come out and say that they've partnered with OpenAI, and they launched 2 paid features. So Duolingo has been a free app for the longest time, and they've launched paid features because of AI, and they've had a chatbot, and they've also helping people understand their mistakes. So if you write an answer, then the AI tool would make you understand what your mistake was grammatically. So that's a great addition. And so in a classroom full of students, they're always 15 to 20 people who are very serious, who don't need a nudge, and they will learn. So that market will always stay there, because translations are transactional in nature, right? So it will give you that short-lived need that you have, but for a more fuller experience, you would go to learning. And for us as well, to kind of make learning more fun and more effective and quicker, AI would only help learning tools in the future.
Yes, yes, please.
So I just want to jump in because I've been thinking about this since Mr. Nag mentioned it and since you mentioned your app. Earlier in the day, Mr. Nag mentioned that they are trying to make Bhashini sort of 100% accurate. Okay, and the fact that you have language learners. So some of the learning that you have had through of language learning, whether some of that in terms of data could possibly be shared with Bhashini to be able to make some of their translations or tech adaptations more contextual. Do you see something like that also emerging as a collaboration?
We've briefly discussed this because we have a feature in the app wherein you pronounce what you've learned and the system matches whether you pronounced right or wrong. So that is something that we, can happily share with Bhashini to kind of train their models on things that can be mispronounced by non-native speakers. So that is one way. And of course, similarly, like when Bhashini, the chatbot was launched, even on the app, around 20 to 25% of the monthly active users are going on it and translating. And of course, from a learning perspective, Bhashini can understand what are people interested in, what are they typing, so that's, yes, of course, there is, we are happy to share our data. And in fact, it's a matter of pride that such a powerful AI tool backed by the government has been made available for startups and tech companies for us for free. So it's absolutely unbelievable.
That's great. There's a collaboration happening. Would you like to comment?
Yes, see, as I had said earlier, and you also pointed out, that it's a journey, and the journey will require collaborators like what Anisha talked about and other collaborators as well, because the more data we have, the more training we do to the models, the more perfect we get. And if you actually look at it on one of the Mann Ki Baats, which was done by the Prime Minister, I think, on December 31st, he clearly said that, he has, in fact, he used the system quite a number of times till now. And he said that he would like the youngsters to make the system perfect. And, in all the areas of domains, which is education, legal, everywhere this particular technology should be used. Now, as far as, language learning part of the thing is concerned, whether, Bhashini will remove that particular requirement altogether, I don't think so, because there are different motivations for doing learning languages. So today, the challenge which we have is that people are forced to actually learn a different language to do their work, which shouldn't happen, right? There can be other motivation, as she said, people who want to learn other ones' culture, there is a curiosity, there is, a lot of other things which are there for motivation of language learning. But the fact that a person who has got a different mother tongue comes to a, college and, and has to forcibly learn another language to actually go through the curriculum, that's something which we are trying to remove.
So Anisha, you hinted towards the use of AI, not just translations and language, NLP, but also in terms of AI can help in making learning experience more effective, right? So in connection with this, over to Deepakshi. So in terms of AI and applied AI, the state in India, how the Indian industries are looking forward to what they are doing in terms of developing such technologies for Indian market and for the globe?
So, purely from that lens, I would again say, there would be certain grades of interventions. One, really, and that was, I believe, also discussed in the inaugural session. I think India, in terms of the pure AI tech talent, is really ahead of the curve. And that is also because the industry, the academia, the government, and the beneficiaries, they're working very, very closely. I think one big part is today when you talk about most, and I purely speak about the tech companies that are there in the country. Most of us, you will always find us saying that, our second largest R&D base outside of, if these companies are not headquartered in the country, outside of the headquarter is India. And that is where there is a lot of focus on not just skilling, but also upskilling the talent that is there in-house. And again, not every function, not every department, or let me put it this way, every function, every department would require different levels of AI prowess. So there is a significant share of tech transfers that happen. There's a significant share of upskilling that happens within not just the company networks, but even the ecosystem partners that the companies work with. And it makes business sense also, right? You're in a way also fostering the larger business environment, the larger economic funnel that you're going to be working in. The second big piece there is, and today specifically when we talk about demographic dividend and we see what is happening to our neighbor, where when in terms of the aging population and how you would really still climbing up the value add addition chains, it's important to upskill people at a citizen level, at a student level, at a teacher level, at a moderator level, even at an officer level. And as Intel, I'm very, very proud to share, while I've joined the company very recently, I haven't really contributed to that part at all thus far. But there is significant investment in initiatives such as AI for all, AI for youth, AI for government servants, AI for teachers. And the primary thought really being, can this really become a more systemic approach? Currently, Intel runs a program with CBSE that is wherein there is a lot of focus right from grade 6th up until grade 10th on how do you loop in students into AI mold, not just from understanding AI, but also from creating models, also from fostering innovation and entrepreneurship at that level. But then touching children alone would be meaningless if these programs are also, they don't focus on teachers first, right? The second part here really is, and I would say this is where the industry is also trying to see how we can rejig and reboot the larger ecosystem to when I spoke about the content consumption and content creation piece. Today, when you look at, let's say, devices of content creation in the market, there will always be a lacuna. There will be a large chunk of international brands that are there. There will be a big chunk of indigenous brands that are there. And there is this accessibility issue. While on the one hand, we talk about the proliferation of mobile devices, it's also because they are very, very accessible and affordable. When we talk about devices of content creation, perhaps currently they are not that affordable. There are very focused initiatives, very focused interventions that are being taken across the industry, Intel included, wherein how can we really create products that are made in India from an Indian user perspective, from a price point level, from the kind of pre-packaged software that gets delivered with it. Does everybody really need a high-end processor? Maybe not. And therefore, what is that level of complexity that can really be, in terms of manufacturing, really be indigenized? Why I'm mentioning about manufacturing in an AI discussion is also because the content that we end up generating and creating from grassroots is really going to go and feed into the larger data sets that are getting created. And last but not the least, when we talk about AI, when we talk about most of the emerging tech, there's a lot of focus today on ethics, regulations, and responsible AI. And of course, there will always be this catch-22 situation about innovation plays a catch-up game or the regulation will play the catch-up game. And it's always regulation that ends up playing the catch-up game with innovation. But how do you really foster a responsible innovation environment, not just within the industry, within the company, but also the industry, but also the larger ecosystem? And I would say those are the three pegs where industry very actively, and I would say has become even more active in the last 2-3 years on really focusing on that larger ecosystem.
Great. So just wanted to, from her point on ethics, just wanted to tell the audience that UNESCO MJIP is working on ethics of AI in learner-centric education. So we will be launching the report in 3-4 months from now. Okay, so let's just a last question from Nandini. So you have heard so many ideas on how AI can be useful. So from your perspective as an educator and as a researcher in learning sciences, what do you want from AI? What do you anticipate from AI to do in education in the science of learning for you?
That's a tall order. Let me start by sort of bringing the conversation back to social emotional learning, because that's something that we are seeing tangible enough. And I think a good evidence of it was already apparent today, when at least 3 people have mentioned the fact that how happy they felt because Shombi Sharp said thank you in 5 or 6 languages or whatever. And most people think that it's really the heart that responded, but let me tell you, it's the brain that told the heart to respond. Okay, so the heart is one of the indicators of response, but the messaging is coming from the brain. So what MJIP is trying to do is to bring in social emotional learning very consciously into education systems, so learning can become rewarding. Okay, for learning to become rewarding, it has to activate emotional networks. Okay, and so teachers need to be empowered to be able to find ways to bring that social emotional learning into the classroom. Okay? And that's why this whole focus on social emotional learning. So now, through social emotional learning and through Bhashini, what we are hoping to do is the courses that we've created that are multimodal in nature, again recognizing that the brain learns in many ways. We hope that this training that we provide in terms of courses for teachers and students is now accessible to many more people. But AI also has enabled us, because especially when it's implemented digitally, to look at individual learner journeys. Okay? So right now we've all been talking about the fact that AI impacts all. If it impacts all, because of the digital footprint that it leaves behind, it gives an insight into personalized learning. And that's been one of our biggest findings from a recent report that we did on education called the International Science Evidence-Based Assessment of Education. It's called the IC report. It was the first of its kind ever done. And the first finding of that report is that every learner is entitled to a personalized learning experience. Okay? So all of us have different brains. We all learn differently. And technology is a means to try and enable that. But it is AI that is going to provide us the means to be able to actually implement this by helping us understand those journeys happening at the back end. And something that we see as very promising is allowing us to try and probably even connect learners by looking at different journeys. If I can compare Shitanshu's journey, Amitabh's journey, my journey, and see that maybe Shitanshu learned something similarly to what I do, can I actually use the learning platform to connect these 2 people together to learn together? Or can I use some of the learnings I got or insights from Shitanshu's learning experience to put into mine? Okay. Now, that's where the whole value of the GDPR compliance becomes so important. You don't want it really to be known as Shitanshu's journey or Nandini's journey, but learner A and learner B. So you want to harness the insight into individual level learning without putting the learner at risk. Okay? And that's where the ethics becomes important. So how this entire interplay will actually unfold to make sure that every learner gets a personalized learning experience so that ultimately he or she can achieve their best potential is what we are trying to do. And I think that's where we are looking at AI as a unique way. And that's where we look at some of this even on the Framerspace platform, which is GDPR compliant, is to see how we are seeing learner journeys across the world show up their different patterns and to learn from them so that we can use that information to make the learning journeys of others even better. So I think that's where I think of it.
Great, great. So before we end the session, maybe we can go to each panelist one by one and maybe just one takeaways or the call for action for technology creators or for the policymakers that you think should be there in terms of inclusion, language, AI. So maybe one each of you, starting with maybe Dipakshi.
Out of a long list, if I were to pick up one, I think, and as a policy professional, I think the importance of consultations across various stakeholder groups is so important to create something that is responsible, to create that is something sustainable, and that interplay between people with very different perspectives, all of them valid in their own sense, is something that is really going to create something that is tenable.
So for specifically for language learning, one of the challenges we faced was there wasn't much research done around Indian languages, who wants to learn, what they want to learn, why would they want to learn. So specifically for policymakers, if research around for a country like India with such diverse languages, I think there is a huge scope for research around languages, language learning, and of course, that said, in partnership with tech leaders like Bhashini and researchers, that would really help the industry.
I think for me, because of the science that has advanced, foundational learning in the mother tongue helps build the entire brain. And that's why it's time to re-emphasize the need and urgency to ensure foundational learning in the mother tongue. On all that learning, on that foundational learning, all other language learning can happen. But in order to ensure good foundational learning, which will build the entire brain, mother tongue learning is critical.
When we look at the entire paradigm of what we have been discussing, it's a question of, or in summary, a lot has been done, but a lot still needs to be done. And that lot has to come through collaboration, consultation, because everybody has to chip in to make the things which is make us solve a problem which is an age-old problem. The problem is not of today. So emphasis on collaboration and consultation, as Dipakshi said, cannot be ruled out.
Great. So maybe from my end, from the perspective of ethics of AI in education, I would recommend I would take on ethics of AI in education that when we are creating technologies or when we are implementing and integrating technologies in education, we need to work very much explicitly on ethics of AI, ED nuances. So it's a huge new domain that has to be worked upon very much rigorously for all the domains, education and other domains too. Thank you, the panelists. Maybe we can have just 2 questions from the audience, just in to save the time. So maybe 2 questions, one from that end.
Good afternoon, sir, ma'am. My question is like what NPCI was for digital payments. Since I'm an MBA student, I would like to know the benefits which Bhashini would do for the businesses, because businesses reach a plateau after some time, and going into local languages could increase their businesses. So could you comment on that, please?
Yeah, that's an important aspect because if you look at any direct to D2C customer, direct to consumer customer, they are actually tackling about 20% of the market. You know, rest of the 80 is away from them for the reason that people are either facing digital divide or they have a language divide or they have a literacy divide, right? And of course, we are working on that particular aspect to increase the market reach, right? One way is to actually disseminate the information in local language, but aren't they in a position to actually transact on these D2C platforms, using the local language there, given with an assumption that, okay, the internet would be there, or at least you can make a phone call, right? We are also looking at, you saw some part of the fact that inventory management, if you have a huge inventory management, how do you do the inventory management? How do you actually look at any MIS using voice and multilinguality? That's a feature or factor which you're working upon. So there are a lot of places where currently it is a latent need, right? People, since they do not know that they can use local languages as well as voice to do a transaction, they are perhaps accepting the things the way it is coming. But in future, when the enterprises expand to the actual footprint on the local level, we would see a lot of uptake of, multilinguality and voice-based things to happen. That's how it is. There is another project which we are working with, say, Niti Aayog, where we are trying to give the block level officer the access of best practices, policies, and past success things. So again, that comes because that at that level, it has to go into local language, and it has to be basically a combination of language, voice, plus the Gen AI component, which can summarize and surmise the things. So a lot of use cases, but we still are scratching the surface as far as what all it can do.
Over to you, yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, all. I'm Utkarsh Giri from New Delhi Institute of Management. Sir, I am asking you, you said about 100% accuracy in Bhashini. So we all know AI is little biased. So how you ensure the 100% accuracy in translation?
Means accuracy and bias are two different things. Accuracy is all about training the models and building it to an extent that it does what you want him to do, right? And bias is the inherent bias which comes in because of the practices which are there or the beliefs which we have for the ages, or sometimes it is artificially created also. So while we are, 100% accuracy, or the accuracy which we are looking at on the abstract, what I should say, the things which we do on day to day, right? For example, on the NPCI example, 100% accuracy is on 10 rupees, right? Which is the transaction. It cannot be 11, it cannot be 9, right? Similar is the case with other use cases which we are talking about, that the accuracy factor is about that particular transaction. If the video is translated, it's translated accurately. Accurately in the sense that it says what is translated. So as the AI models, it will be a journey. I don't say that it is, we are there. We are going to be there, and our aspirations is to be there. While as bias is a very different discussion altogether.
Many times, if 7 people pronounce, maybe we researched on 10 people, and if a word 7 people pronounce wrongly, then and 3 people pronounce it right, so AI will take.
See, okay, what the pronunciation which is given in the dictionary, is it itself a right pronunciation will become a matter of debate after some time because of the people who are looking at it. Because some vowels or some words do not exist in some language. Means in Bengali, for example, ba does not, you would always say aw to everything. Now, is it a wrong pronunciation simply because my accent is like that? I may want to debate with you for a long time on that, right?
Okay. So we have very quick question. Promise? Okay. If it is not quick, we may impose some fine. You will treat us. Yeah, go ahead, please. No. नहीं? Okay.
Okay, this is a great initiative. Just wanting to understand if children with special needs or children who are slow learners may also benefit from this, because learning in mother tongue might be faster. So is the app also trying to address that?
So there's certainly a value that for children with special needs, and so in the context of dyslexia, for instance, we certainly think that learning to read and giving a greater emphasis on Indian languages helps because of transparency. So I see absolutely no reason at all why this will not become a rage with kids with special needs. I just think that's one aspect that needs to be highlighted. And though they are not here, I just want to highlight the work of a foundation called Change Inc. that is actually trying to do a lot of screening for special needs in using Indian languages. And they are in the process of using Bhashini too.
Okay. So we have a lot of knowledge to take home and brainstorm, ponder upon them, and enhance our learning further. So let's thank all our panelist experts for their wonderful insights. And we would like to thank you, the audience, for listening to us, and even for the questions at the end. Thank you very much. Over to you, Richa. Next.
Yeah. Thank you, Shitanshu, for such a wonderful moderation. And thanks to all the panelists for sharing their knowledge, their ideas with us. Moving on to the next and final section of the event, let's explore how a number of leading organizations in the society are endeavoring to integrate technology into their ideas and knowledge to make it accessible and affordable for local communities. So with this, I would like to invite Samagra Association to please present their ideas and share their knowledge with the audience. Are they here? Oh, okay. Come, please. Yeah, I'll request IT team to please upload their presentation.
Thank you. As before we begin, I'll just quickly introduce myself. So I'm Ujjwal. I'm from Samagra Transforming Governance. We are a mission-driven governance consulting firm. What does that mean? We are a firm that works only with governments with the mission to improve quality of life of citizens through better governance. So that's who we are. We work across domains, but primarily with governments. And in the context of today's discussion, I would like to touch upon two pieces of our work which are very relevant and just a perfect follow-through of the panel that just happened. So the first piece of work that I wish to talk about is Nipun Bharat. So something that Dr. Chatterjee also touched upon in her, reiterated in her final words, that foundational learning is something that is extremely critical for India. So just to build on that, Nipun Bharat mission is India's FLN mission, foundational learning mission, that was launched in July 2021, with the goal of making all students in India from 3 to 9-year-old foundationally literate. Because this is a time when the child learns basic reading and comprehension skills, writing in their mother tongue, and also learns their basic skills of addition, subtraction. Once this is done, then they're set up for life. They can learn by themselves for the rest of their lives. But if they miss this phase, then their learning journey just derails and can never get back on track. That's why this is an important phase of a child's journey. Hence, Government of India acknowledged this in 2021 as part of the National Education Policy, and this was launched. Now, in context of Samagra, we have been working on Nipun Bharat in Uttar Pradesh, in the state of UP, which all of us understand is one of the largest states in the country. So we are trying to make 60 lakh students from grades 1 to 3 in government schools every year FLN competent. That's the mission that we are on to. And we have been working with the states for the last 4 years on this part. In fact, by the name of Mission Prerna, UP launched its own FLN mission even before Nipun Bharat or even National Education Policy came into being. In fact, Nippon UP has also guided Nippon Bharat. So now known as Nippon UP, this is the program that UP got onto 4 years back. And Samagra has been working for the last 4 years. And as part of that, from building salience around why foundational literacy is important, by providing more important and good academic inputs in the classroom, driving administrative initiative, multiple things are happening as part of this mission. But because we have a short window right now, and in the context of today's theme, I just want to touch upon one particular initiative, which is Nippon Lakshya. So this is the Nippon Lakshya app that we launched in early 2020 in collaboration with Google Read Along. What is this application? This is an application which is meant to assess and determine whether child is Nippon or not. And how does one do that? So this is an application which you bring to a student. The student tries to read a certain passage. You say that this child can read 10 words per minute. And say a grade 1 student should be able to read 15, then you can say that the child is not Nippon in oral fluency. Similarly, it has some questions for basic mathematics assessment. So this is a tool or a thermometer to know whether a child is Nippon or not. So we got started on this journey in early 2020. Then of course, COVID hit us. While we had improved and made it accurate in collaboration with Google for a lot of dialects of UP, we lost 2 years because of COVID, multiple schools were shut, but we used that phase to actually build this application further by working with the mentors. Mentors are academic guides to the teachers in the classroom. So with the 5,500 mentors, they started using it for spot assessments. So whenever a mentor goes to a school, he can pick or she can pick 5 students in a classroom and just quickly assess if they are Nippon or not, and accordingly give feedback to the teacher. So that's the kind of thing that we wanted to kind of pilot it for. And in the last 1 year, because now schools have stabilized, things are in a better shape, we expanded the scope. Today, mentors, the 5 lakh teachers, 4 lakh teachers that we have in Uttar Pradesh, and 10,000 plus a third-party assessors are using Nippon Lakshya app in classrooms, in schools. And what it has led to that 50 lakh monthly assessments are happening on this application every month. Why is it so important? If you want to move a state as big as UP towards foundational learning, it cannot happen by its own. So this has almost become a tool that's acting as a thermometer and is now being leveraged as an instrument of motivation and accountability. So every teacher is conscious that out of my 50 students, 30 are Nippon today, 20 are not. What can I do to make them Nippon? This cognizance around learning is coming in because of this application, along with all the other initiatives that have been happening. Seeing how effective it's coming out as a tool in classrooms, we now aim to take it across the country. So what we have been doing in UP as part of Nippon Lakshya app, we want to take it to rest of the country through what we are calling as Nippon Sahayak. This is a tool that can empower Nippon mission across the country. Every state is right now onto that journey. And if they get this tool in the mother tongue languages for students, then they can really make it happen. What we are onto this, that as I said, that the journey started with Google as a core partner for us. We now want to move to Bhashini, given that the idea is to expand to all Indian languages. So we now are already doing a POC with Bhashini. Just a quick overview of that. So this is something that you can see, that this is a very small POC video that you can see, that as a child is reading it, it's coloring red or green depending whether the child is pronouncing the word in a particular dialect right or wrong. And it has been trained on multiple dialects so that all types of dialects in UP can be taken care of. So this is a very small POC to give you a glimpse of it. And this was on education. We also are working on an educational tool which is basically for farmer advisory, what we call as Amakrush AI in Odisha, where a farmer can quickly ask a query in Odia and get a response to any agronomic advice that they need or weather-related advice that they need. And basis all of this work, Samagra is right now on the gov.ai mission where we want to take many such use cases across multiple parts of India by 2026. So that's very briefly about our work, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Ujjwala, for sharing your app ideas and knowledge here. So do we have any question here from the audience? If you want to ask anything, Ujjwala is right here. All right, I think they understood everything and they maybe reach out to you in person. All right, okay, so moving to our next presentation, I invite a team from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Arjun Venkatraman. I'm a program officer with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation's India Country Office. I think this is a particularly interesting event to speak at because we've been talking about language and the need for more language and voice-based solutions to sort of localize development sector work for a fair amount of time. So some of what you're seeing on the screen, I'll talk about. It's what we're doing at the moment with language and voice. But historically, the foundation has worked with programs like Kilkari and similar programs on nutrition and healthcare with frontline workers, where the use of voice technology in local languages through either an IVR system or some kind of a web-based delivery model, or even shared listening like the kind, or viewing like the kind of work that Digital Green does. This has been sort of very crucial in enabling this last mile delivery of development services. And so now with efforts like Bhashini already in place, we feel like this can really get to scale at a much more rapid pace. So I think two broad areas where we see already use of language tech or voice-related AI or language-related AI. One is, of course, enabling inclusive information access and service delivery. So whether it is taking agricultural info, turning it into a local context, making it available for farmers at the last mile, whether it is financial services, either from the point of view of financial literacy, where you learn about how to manage your finances, or from the point of view of generating or increasing access to existing services like a UPI. In both those scenarios, multilingual interfaces, multimodal interfaces play a huge role. I think one of the key things that we see is, particularly for users who are relatively new to the digital space, and this also includes in many cases a large number of women, the voice-enabled model or the local language-enabled models are the ones that really drive the user base. Similarly, I think there are multiple use cases. You'll find similar ones in education, foundational learning systems. All of these, I think, can now see a lot of rapid scale and adoption through sort of collaboration with programs like Bhashini. The other thing that I'd like to call the attention of this room towards is, as we are building more and more of these solutions, as language tech evolves, as language AI evolves, the demand for data from remote parts of India is going to start growing, right? So you will need voice samples, say in Bhojpuri, or you will need annotation of bias in Maithili or Kannada or Telugu or Bengali. And this is a problem set that's going to become more and more complex and higher demand as we go forward. So two areas that we've been working on. One is, and this was an experiment that we tried, and it's now sort of gone to, I think, about 10,000 hours of audio. This is with IISc and Art Park, where there's a collection of voice samples, and the goal is to have a high-quality data set, which can then be used for things like automated speech recognition, speech-to-text conversion, text-to-speech, that kind of stuff, particularly in the agricultural and financial services domains. The model that we've tested is to acquire these voice samples from people on the ground, and it's proven quite successful. There's a fair amount of data that's been collected. More is being collected as we speak. But the question now that faces us is that how do you sort of build this economy, this data value chain? How does like a voice sample that's been collected today, what's the life cycle? How many times does it get used? Who gets paid for that usage? Who stores it? How does it get downloaded? There's an entire value chain to be built around data, particularly in Indian languages and other low resource languages. Similarly, there are higher order tasks, things that we've been testing out with folks like Karya, where we're seeing knowledge work. So say, for example, you wanted to annotate bias in machine translation. Doctor aa raha hai, nurse aa rahi hai is a classic example of this. And so if you wanted to annotate some of those things, that requires some amount of context training, sensitization to specific expectations from the annotation exercise. So those are going to be a little bit of higher order tasks where we see a strong role for skilling and building that sort of certification model around what are the tasks that can contribute to this kind of work stream. So this is, in a nutshell, what we're doing at the moment. I can take a couple of questions. Somebody direct? I saw that one. Sure.
Different places, different regions, and how do you market, monetize your business? Like, how
Okay, so I can answer the second piece first. So the Gates Foundation in India primarily engages in development sector activities. So it's mostly support for innovation in things like healthcare. 70% of our work is around public health. The remainder would be around things like gender equality, so women's economic empowerment. How do you increase income in the hands of women? How do you bridge things like the gender digital gap? So those are the areas that we would work in. So promotion typically is not something that we would worry about. I mean, we partner with government programs for that scale, right? The previous part, again, bulk of our work has been historically in UP and Bihar, but I think for areas like gender, we also have other states like Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Maharashtra, MP. So it varies. The answer to your question is that the reach of the program will vary depending on the program. We do engage a lot with the government of India, so there, in that sense, we can reach out nationally as well. So for example, with the Ministry of Rural Development, we work with the National Rural Livelihoods Mission. So for example, if you wanted to source voice data sets from every district in India, that could be a good network to look at because SHGs are there in every part of India. So I don't know if that covered your question. Right. Super. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Arjun. And as I can see, I think we all, like MGIP, Bhashini, BMGF, all the organizations are somehow working on the same lines. So we should be, joining hands or working together for uplifting the society, right? Okay, so next in the list is NASCOM Foundation.
Yeah.
India is one of the most diverse countries in the world. We have more than 700 languages. While India is digitizing at a very rapid speed, language is the biggest barrier. We at NASCOM Foundation are working in over 47 aspirational districts across the country, and we are trying to ensure that technology reaches the last mile. With our partnership with Bhashini, an AI tool and initiative of Government of India, we are ensuring that our digital literacy and AI fluency content becomes more accessible to people across the country.
Bhashini is the National Language Translation Mission, which intends to translate one language to other. We intend covering 22 languages which are part of the Constitution as of now. And the idea is, if the computer is able to speak and understand what you are talking, then you are bridging the digital as well as literacy divide to a certain extent. So there is a lot which can be achieved by connecting these unconnected people. NASCOM Foundation has been doing a lot of work in providing tech to the philanthropic and social organizations, social entrepreneurs, and Bhashini and NASCOM Foundation can do a lot good to the last mile because the technology will now reach last mile. It will be able to help us achieve our social development goals which are around. It will help us to actually execute many of the service delivery challenges which we have. It will also help us to resolve a lot of governance challenges which we have.
This collaboration between NASCOM Foundation, technology and Government of India will ensure that we reach the remotest of the areas and language is no longer a barrier and we are able to connect the unconnected.
And they still want me to talk. I am handling social innovation and a technology for NASCOM Foundation. I come from a tech background, and I have an entrepreneurial journey also. I have a language school in US, specifically handling Indian languages. With the Bhashini MOU, which we have signed with NASCOM Foundation and Bhashini, we were trying to impact almost 1 million lives, which is on the digital literacy side, right? So we do primarily on a digital literacy front through our different initiatives like skilling, digital literacy, women entrepreneurship, social innovation primarily. So we are working with Bhashni on a AI content for school children at the junior academic level. So that would be impacting almost 1 million lives in next couple of years. At the same time, the social innovation, the social startups which we are incubating or accelerating, that's where also we are trying to kind of embed Bhashni's API so that it would be accessible in all Indian languages. So these are couple of work which we are doing, and I just want to take a pause. If anybody has any specific question, then I can kind of put a focus on that. If not, thank you. That's it from an NASSCOM Foundation. Thank you.
Thank you, NASSCOM. So next, I invite Vadhvani Global SDN.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Richa. I represent Vadhvani Foundation, the Skill Development Network.
उनको बोले वहीं से प्रेजेंटेशन स्टार्ट करने So thank you for the patience, and here you go, Preeti.
Can you check the battery? Low battery. Okay. Thank you. इसको full screen करते हैं. Thank you. My name is Preeti Arora, and I am leading the Learning, Content and Innovative Services function at Vadhvani Foundation. What I'm going to discuss today with you specifically is related to AI-based learning copilots that we have brought out, and specifically making it multilingual to expand the reach in collaboration with Bhashni. Just a little bit about the background of our foundation. We are Vadhvani Foundation, founded in 2000 by Silicon Valley entrepreneur Dr. Romesh Vadhvani, and our goal is to accelerate job growth and enable millions and earn family-sustaining income for a family of 4 to lead a life of dignity. This is the impact that we are making very quickly. 2.2 million high school learners, 300,000 skill seekers across so many countries, and in India we are broadly in now the entire country. through partnerships with training partners, academic institutions, etc. Our programs span across career advisory, employability enhancers, and specific domain sectoral skills. All these leading to the mission that I stated at the onset. Since we are a technologically savvy organization, otherwise lean, but expanding the impact using AI-based co-pilots and state-of-the-art learning management systems. Our Genie AI learning platform is supported by interactive content, the GenAI co-pilots, which I am going to demonstrate shortly. And all this is multilingual by design. So our digital content is in batch mode converted into the mother language of the learners, as well as on-the-fly, real-time, personalized and adaptive learning enablement, which I'll showcase to you. Of course, it is mobile first, supported by community and mentor networks. End-to-end learning solutions involves all the ingredients of a learning solution, which is seamless digital platform along with learning services, teacher training and assessors training along with career guidance. So all the ingredients before the learning program, which lead to career advisory and identifying the training needs, during the training process, which is multilingual digital content, multilingual enabled, online tutors that are AI enabled, as well as post-skilling assessments are enabled. Specifically, the use case today that I have been requested to cover is the AI-based Copilot in mother language, which is hosted on our Genie AI platform. It enables for the learners the 24/7 learning coach, which allows a kind of Socratic interface with the trainer available online at any time to give a kind of adaptive learning experience. It actually takes away the boundaries, any kind of boundary that a finite learning content could be posing to the learning experience. This is what takes that away. Tailored lessons, AI-based precision guidance through interview coach. So we have a Gen AI-powered interview coach that allows for a kind of an interaction. And the tailored engagements are around the job role for which the learner may be preparing towards. So the guardrails have been put around which allow you to move in a certain boundary for interaction and preparing towards the targeted job role. Q&A, of course, and all this is multilingual. We operate not just in India and outside. So Bhashini supports us entirely for all of the Indian languages that we operate in. Of course, this is on anytime, anywhere. And alongside the services for the learners, we also have this multilingual AI Copilot in mother language available for the trainers, for the faculty, that empowers them with training techniques, specific doubts that students may pose in that particular subject area, what additional illustrations and examples should be taken up, how to cover certain kinds of queries of the students in the classroom, and so on and so forth. Without taking much time, I will move on to the demo. So we will first start with the demo on the interview coach. I don't think this mouse is working, Aparna. Excuse me. This isn't working. Okay. So the interview coach allows you to move in within your. I don't think this is able to. So let me cover that with you directly. So the interview coach allows you to select a job role. It poses a list of questions. It allows the learner to select specific job roles. Let's say retail sales associate or software associate or web designer. And it allows you to select from a set of questions which the coach brings out for the domain as well as for behavioral aspects. And then begins the live interaction with the coach. While working in the guardrails, but it does not have any predefined answers which otherwise a bot may have. So don't confuse this with a bot. It is real-time generative AI-driven interview coach that allows you to interface with a student in the mother language or in English, whichever way the student prefers. So at the end of the whole experience, it gives computed results. The GenAI interview coach gives computed results on how the student fared on various questions with respect to the subject matter. For the question that was asked, were appropriate details covered in the answers of the students? Was the student confident? Were there too many filler words? Pauses, all that we do when we have lack of confidence or when we don't know the subject matter so well. It computes all those aspects, give you a quantitative rating, and allows you to practice and re-practice over a period of time until you master it. This particular example is of the online tutor. What I told you earlier was about the coach. And while all this is happening in support with Bhashini, it allows us to converse in mother language. If you see, the student is on the fly asking a question for a lesson on given seek opinions effectively. The student is asking a question and the answer is being computed within the guardrails of that particular skilling experience. This allows you also to interface not just in text but in voice. There are toolkits available to the learner which allow you for that particular lesson. It allows you for summary of that lessons, key outcomes, key memory tools, and as I said at the beginning, Socratic Quiz Me, which helps the learner reach the defined learning experience without giving the answer directly. This is personalized to the specific targeted job role, which is what this is explaining. And it also interfaces in various languages, English, Hindi, and the example that you see in front of you is presently
ಪಾಠವು
in
ಹೇಗೆ
Kannada.
ಪರಿಣಾಮಕಾರಿಯಾಗಿ ಮತ್ತು ನಯವಾಗಿ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯಗಳನ್ನು ನೀಡುವುದು ಮತ್ತು ಹುಡುಕುವುದು ಎಂಬುದರ ಕುರಿತಾಗಿದೆ.
That's all that I have to share, and I'll be very happy to take questions. Thank you.
For training students for interviews, but how would that AI tool, assess the non-verbal part of a human being? Because in interviews, non-verbal part is one of the, it shows the 90% of things what you want to complete.
Okay, thank you for that question. An interview coach can help you in multiple manners. One is the domain, second is the behavioral. The non-verbal in terms of confidence, tone, speed of speech, that part it can cover. If you're talking about gestures, yes, that is not what is being covered here in the text and voice-based support. But when we also bring in the video support, it will cover that also in terms of the gestures being made. As Amitabh said some time back, all these engines and language models are in the state of continuous flux and they are developing. This is where we have reached so far. There are Microsoft Copilots that help you in so many ways in mastering and getting the best out of Excel, PowerPoint, Word. This is a learning copilot for teachers and for learners, never before offered. It's the first step. Thank you. Any other question? Thank you all. Thanks for being a wonderful audience. Thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. So we have Mr. Manu from Karya, so who would like to talk about their work, their organization, and what do they do for the society. Please.
Thank you. Lovely to be here, and I think we'll keep this very interactive. So my name is Manu. I am the co-founder of an organization called Karya. I think Karya is a word we're all familiar with. In Sanskrit, there's this belief that your life has Karya and Akarya. Karya is work that gives to you, and a Karya's work that takes from you, right? And the idea behind our work is, hey, can I use AI to move people out of poverty, right? India has, according to government numbers, 230 million people who live in poverty. But at the same time, the world is spending billions of dollars building valuable AI training data sets that we need to build the state-of-the-art models, right? So every year, big tech companies like Google and Microsoft and big players are spending billions of dollars collecting training data in Indic languages, image training data, video training data to train their AI models. And the question we had was, hey, can we bring this valuable AI work straight to the people in their villages on their phones? And we started as a research project. We spent 4 years doing research, and around 2 years ago, decided to spin it out as an independent organization with the goal of moving 100 million people out of poverty by 2030 using AI. I think it's a very interesting way of doing it. It's very simple. Our workers sit at their home in their villages. They open their smartphones. They open the Karya app on the phone, and they build training data sets for our clients, which includes Government of India and all these big tech players and the Gates Foundation. And for the simple task of recording sentences in their mother tongue, right? So they would literally just get a sentence in Hindi or Tamil or Telugu or Marathi or Kannada. For the simple ask of just recording that sentence in their mother tongue, they get paid 20 times the Indian minimum wage, right? They're able to make substantially large amounts of money. They're able to move from extreme poverty to middle class. They're able to learn new skills. And today we do this in 24 states across the country. And we are on track to this year work with 100,000 people. That's the work we do. I think very passionate about thinking about how we can use AI for impact and how can we use AI to create as much value for underserved communities in our country, right? I think in 1999, I'm a big history fan, computer science history fan. In 1999, Winton Cerf, the founder of the internet, wrote in 1999 that this is the end of information asymmetry, that the day of you knowing more than what I know is officially over. 30 years, no, well, 25 years since he said that, and 30 years since the creation of the internet, that has not been proven to be true, right? Even today, right, the access to information that all of us have because we speak English is so much greater than what our countrymen and countrywomen get to enjoy, and that's not fair, right? And at the same time, information asymmetry is still a huge problem, right? Even today, 29 years, 30 years since the creation of the internet, 3 billion people in the world have no access to the internet, right? So my fear with AI is that we will make the same mistake, and we have a chance with all of us here today to not do that, right? And I think I feel very optimistic that you will not be making the same mistake. So I would encourage the young people in the room to use AI for good and you know, like genuinely make sure we build these technologies for everyone. At Karya, our goal is to use AI to move people out of poverty. We believe strongly that rural India is both an excellent beneficiary of AI, like we need to be building AI technologies for them, and that's the phenomenal work that Bhashini is doing. I mean, it's groundbreaking. There's nothing like this in the world, quite simply put. And secondly, and most importantly, rural India is also an excellent builder of AI, right? Why should AI just be built by people like us? It should be built by all of us. And if they are building AI, they should get paid the dignified wages for doing that, and that's what we believe very strongly. And it's such an honor to have the opportunity to partner with Bhashini and the phenomenal ecosystem that they've built. It is truly world-class, and it is transformative for the ecosystem, and it's lovely to be here. Thank you so much. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so now it's turn for our students to share their ideas and to share what they are doing for their university system, or maybe for the local communities or for the societies in large. So for that, first I would like to invite Anveshan organization, who has their incubation center at Indira Gandhi Delhi Technical University. So Avantika from Anveshan. Don't carry this. So they will start it from there.
Hello, everybody. I'm Avantika and I'm from Family Script. So, before I tell you who we are and what we do, I'll begin by a very small story, which is also a personal incident. So, I am from Chhattisgarh and I have a fully Chhattisgarhi speaking family. And in one of the functions, after dinner, all of us were sitting together and my father just walked in and he cracked some joke in Chhattisgarhi and everybody is bursting out in laughter. So after a while, I went out to take some second serving of my food, and I realized one of my cousins sitting in the corner. She was not laughing very much. She was just trying to be interested, but she was not getting all of it. So I asked her, and she's like, I get the gist of what they're speaking, but I don't know what exactly, why is everybody laughing so much? That's when I realized that language is playing such a big role in actually getting all of those conversations, in trying to create that environment in the room. So that was actually the point. And here at Family Script, we are actually trying to take that part. So what we do is we are basically into documentation. So we are a team of creative architects and we specialize in conservation, design, and management. And we're very passionate about the local, regional, and socio-cultural histories of people, individuals, communities. And our approach is very, very diverse. So we look into the heterogeneity and unique. We are a team of 5, and what we do is, again, we are interested into life writing, we are into documentation, archiving life events, oral histories, and memories, and putting them all together as a personalized product and in the form of a tangible physical book. So we try to document lesser known narratives, and we capture the stories of individuals and delve into the foundational narratives of families. We recognize them as the cornerstone of society. We co-create with people and we help them visualize and create what they want to, and we capture their stories in the form of books. And why we are doing it? So basically, where we are also noticing how generation by generation the values are getting lost, and the major part of it is language. So there are language barriers that are going on, and then we see inherent value and fragility of oral traditions and cultural heritage. And this is also the major embodiment of cultural identity. So that is why we came up with this and we are doing it. It is coming under safeguarding of cultural and natural heritage, and we see language as not only a means of communication but also a repository of wisdom, and we also see it as a repository of wisdom. So, yeah. It's not only a means of communication, but it's also a repository of collective wisdom, traditions, and values. And then we're trying to bridge generational gap here. So from generation X to generation Y, we're trying to bridge that gap and bring in things that are closer. We document everything in the form of books and our approach, so it's very contextual in nature. We do not have a very robotic or a standardized approach. Every project, from people to people, from communities to communities, it goes differently. And we look at lesser known narratives. We're trying to capture the intangible cultural aspects and then also capture the essence of traditional knowledge systems that are coming from generations and values, again, from one generation to the other. Now, in this rapidly changing world with globalization and that is trying to threaten and erode the diversity, this documentation is actually becoming an act of resistance and preservation. So it is our commitment to the past, and we are also trying to celebrate the present and the future. And so, talking a little bit about our journey, we started ideating and planning back in 2015-16, and then we were incorporated under IGDTUW Anveshan Foundation in 2017. And that was also when we had the first prototype of our book, which was like a family book. Then 2017 onwards, we started getting projects for family books. We also got a wedding book project. I'll take you through all of these in the coming slides. And then due to COVID outbreak, we had a slow break for ourselves as well. We revamped Family Script, we ideated for the same. And back in 2003, we emerged expanding on our scope. So We first began at an individual level and then we started from event-based books and then we moved on to family and societal levels. Today we are also doing institutional levels and then we are also hoping to go up to civilizational. So what all we offer is that we have personalized books. We also have curated journals. We have contextualized gift hampers, institutional documentation and design paraphernalia, and life writing workshops. So this is an example of a book that we had done. This is celebrating the 50th wedding anniversary of a couple, and this was done in Hindi. So these illustrations, as you can see, they are also developed within the team and developed by the team. And it takes us back to the time where the couple was trying to say that they were actually on a journey and the car just could not work, it was not working. So they stepped down and then they had to spend out their night out in the garden. So everything, like all their stories are also coming in the form of illustrations. This again here talks about atta chakki and atta chakki pe lychee ka guchha, ki lychee ke guchhe ko de diya and the groom was booked for the wedding. This was again a wedding book where the couple was, it was actually an Indian and Chinese wedding. So that is how two cultures were coming together. And this book was documented for the children who are living in the UK. So they're, for them to be exposed to both kind of cultures. And so, can you go back? Yeah. So this is a book that is celebrating familial relationships. This is done from a father to a son. So the son would ask a lot of questions and the father would go back into the past and answer those questions. So this book is all about that. You can also see illustrations about the whole family and small incidences that the father is trying to narrate to the son. Now the interesting part is it's still not given to the son. It will be given 10 years later. So, yeah. Now, this is again a personalized book where we are trying to capture a couple's journey. This is a couple book and their journey through time, how they've evolved and what they are today. And this is a wedding book where this basically opens from front and back, and the Guptas and the Sinhas, and this was special for us because we tried to document. So this couple is basically living in the UK and they came back to India to get their whole wedding done. And the interesting part here is that we tried to document their whole family tree, their tradition. They've also had a migration from, they've moved across places. And we also tried to document all their traditions in Mithila, including the Mithila songs and all of that, the recipes of the family, to welcome the bride into the family. Here's Shadi Ke Geet, and some of the songs that are written. Some wedding rituals as well. This is a very recent project that we've done from a mother to a daughter, and she's studying in the US, and this is a graduation gift, again, yet to be given. So this is, and we've tried to incorporate a very interesting aspect here. Can we? Yeah. So we had actually incorporated a handwritten letter. And then we also went out to DCWA at the Commonwealth Women's Association, and then that was a very recent activity that we had done, wherein we had a woman who came up to us with some journals, and she said, I'm limited by technology, but I have these journals written from the past 20 years in Punjabi. So I would want you to document that in the form of a book. So what we envision is now to democratize the act of documentation. We wish to create tools and resources, like to create tools and resources to preserve the heritage, to reach out to more people, to even marginalized communities, for them to start voicing out their stories and their whole idea. Thank you so much.
I really appreciate and congratulate the entire team of Anveshan. I mean, I must say that this is a very unique and, an innovative way to, preserve cultural heritage, by taking our stories and documenting them and demonstrating them in terms of family trees. So all this idea, I mean, it's really innovative and inspiring. Okay, so moving to our next presentation, I invite team from Manav Rachna University.
everyone. I know it's lunch time, so I will not take much time. Let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Geeta Thakur. Basically, I'm a professor in the Department of Education, but my main role is I'm doing Dean Student Welfare and Director of Center for Peace and Sustainability, which is now 5 years old, you can say, center. And at the outset, I would like to thank UNESCO MGIP. I think we have very good collaboration since long, and their work in the area of social learning is really appreciable. So thanks a lot, Richa, again to connect us and allowing us to be a part of this. Also, I think Bhashini, that's a great work they are doing, because we all realize how important it is in every arena, every endeavor of ours. I think we can inculcate. And when I heard of this, in fact, it happened because I got a mail, but I did not go into the details. But later somebody sent me the WhatsApp, and somebody sent me, see, this is very good app which has come up, and it's a government app, and it would be very useful for you. And when I saw the message, I was very surprised it was Bhashini app. I said, Acha, this is something related to which I have to go. So Manav Rachana University, so mainly we are working in the area of peace and sustainability. I myself is meditation trainer, so I have special interest in this area to bring the peace and sustainability to humanity. This is main vision, and mainly our objectives are provide education, training, inculcate values, promote research, support policy making, and promote collaboration and networking. So as you know, there are 17 goals, and we can't target in a university with the help of, along with the academics. In the beginning, we targeted only 6 goals, and we are working through this verticals: Parashakti, Prakarsh, Saharita, Sadbhav, and Samruddha. And now we are also in the process of focusing on these four more SDGs. There are many things which we do. As I said, our objectives we are trying to achieve. But the main work which I would like to showcase here, that is Project SustainAid. So Project SustainAid is a project, the main target group, you can say, government school students, community, and our own students. And we have curricular intervention and co-curricular intervention, and mainly we, first of all, we work on the content development through our students. And when students, you can say the strategy is, first of all, we empower our students, train them, and then they become SDG ambassador. So we call them as a peace ambassador, SDG ambassador, green warriors, so that they go and work in the community. So we have a customized, tailored, you can say tailor-made content, because everywhere the need is different. And I think there actually Bhashini is going to be very helpful for us, because when we create, in fact, we created a course, that is course on peace and sustainability. I would talk about it later. And where we actually need the Bhashini app to convert that course content now in different languages. Because we go in the community, we go in the villages, and definitely our students at times, they don't know much about other languages. And mainly, if the course is in English and the audience is national audience, because we are offering this course to other universities and even outside India as well. So we have a team, as I said, we have Pahal educators, gender champions, peace brigade, green warriors. These are some glimpse of activities. So right from the Nukkad Natak or might be rallies, first of all, we make aware about the SDGs. The first target group is our own students. And when we feel that they are trained enough, then we take our students to the community, and some of them work in the schools and work with, even villages. We have adopted 10 villages. So this is glimpse of the work. So we have 20+ schools with us, 10,000 students we are reaching and 2,000 almost volunteers who are working on it. We have developed a website that is SDG Quest, through which we are spreading awareness through SDG quizzes, sustainability competencies tool, not only to understand your own sustainability competencies, but again, how to develop that competency for undergraduates. And then, as I said, there is an online course which we have developed, and it's a self-made course, and not only instructional, not at all an instructional-led course, but it's based on constructivism. It's based on activity-oriented. Actually, it's based on experiential learning and activity-oriented course. So this is just a glimpse of that website which we are creating, and of course we are awarded for this. This is a course, this is main course which is Essentials of Peace and Sustainability. Now I'm converting in online setup using Canvas, integrating the website. So both the things together, I think we can, we are trying to reach the larger audience with the help of our students. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Geeta, for walking us through the work and the courses you are creating for uplifting the society, for local communities. And I'm sure Bhashini has taken a note, and they'll definitely help you translate your courses in multiple languages. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to announce that we have been joined by our chief guest of the day, Mr. S. Krishnan, Secretary, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India. Thank you, sir. I'll invite Dr. Amitabh to kindly felicitate the guest. I invite our chief guest of the day to kindly share a few thoughts with us.
Good afternoon. I guess I'm standing between all of you and lunch. This is not about the best time. I'm sorry I couldn't make it earlier because there was another meeting with the finance minister I was stuck in, but I really felt that this was a significant event today and which I should join. And given that it is the Mother Tongue Day, I guess I have an obligation to speak in my mother tongue. I don't know how many of you will follow, but I think that is the wonder of what Bhashini has done and what the AI framework has done. And so it's a good occasion to also test what can happen. See, India is one of those few countries where I think huge differences in education exist because most people are educated in their mother tongue, while a few people get educated in English, and that makes for a huge difference, which is not so in many other parts of the world. And I think that is a source of inequality and source of inequity in our society that we need to, over time, defeat. And that is possibly what Bhashini will certainly help with as a large mission. அனைவருக்கும் வணக்கம். இன்றைய தினம் என்னுடைய தாய்மொழியான தமிழில் பேசுவதில் நான் மிகுந்த மகிழ்ச்சி அடைகிறேன்.
I am very happy to speak in Tamil. Athe. We learn in our mother tongue. Extremely important. Because in different countries, they learn in their mother tongue.
That way, everyone is on the same level. This difference is very high in our country.
Passed its test, and it has done a very reasonable job of translating. And I think this is the way we keep improving. And this is a way, in a manner of speaking, as citizens of this vast and diverse country, we can converse with each other. Many of you are young university students. One of the most popular book series, which was popular when I was a student, was something called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I don't know how many of you have read this. Douglas Adams. And so one of the things that they have, and this guy is a hitchhiker across the galaxy, so one of the things he has is something called the Babel fish, which he puts into his ear, and then it translates all the tongues of the world, all the tongues of the universe, into language that is discernible as he travels across the galaxy or across the universe, literally. It's something similar that we are trying to offer today, that irrespective of which part of the country you're in, irrespective of which language you actually speak, it is something which can be quickly translated. And especially in a country like India, it makes digital accessibility a real possibility. Many people cannot actually use digital means unless they have two options. One, that they're able to use it in their respective mother tongues, and two, they are able to use it through a verbal means as opposed to necessarily typing. And I think what Bhashini does is really to enable that. Enables speech to be translated into text, enables citizens to interact with digital systems to derive whatever services they require. The other big gain that we can have through this methodology is ultimately to see that we are able to develop large data sets across diverse languages, which can be used in actually operationalizing foundational models in artificial intelligence, which are relevant to India, relevant to the Indian circumstance, and not necessarily something which is derived from the West with all the biases and prejudices that would carry. So clearly, I think in terms of content and in terms of using content from across our great land, Bhashini is enabling this to happen. It's a collaborative effort of truly many, many minds. The government, of course, on one side, but more than that, there are many, many educational institutions, academic institutions, research institutions across India. There are private companies. There are many investors, many people who participate in this exercise, and many people who just want to do it because it's a public cause which is worth doing. So this is a collaboration which I think is truly epoch-making in terms of what it can do in serving as a model for other areas where we work on this kind of digital public infrastructure. If we have to make our digital public infrastructure truly accessible across the country, across all kinds of people, regardless of their level of education, then this is the way to go. And clearly, let me congratulate the Bhashini team for having organized this event along with UNESCO, and on a very appropriate day, the World Mother Tongue Day. And it's been a true pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. And let me at least wish you a wonderful day here in Delhi, and I hope you enjoy your lunch right after this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Even though I know it's lunchtime, you might be feeling hungry too. All right, so moving on to our last presentation, I invite, one second. Yeah, let me get the correct names, yes. Nishchay and Archisha from Center for Sustainable Development Goals, K.R. Mangalam University.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Archisha Sthana, and I'm from KR Mangalam University. And today, my colleague Nishchay and I will be presenting on how empowering local voices can lead to amplification of global impact. Next slide, please. So, to introduce ourselves, you must be wondering who are we and what do we do? Simply, we are divided into these four, we have various groups working in our universities, but some of which are, as you can see, Center of Excellence for Sustainable Development Goal. We have our own legal aid committee. We have specialized research centers, and we have few adopted villages where we do our community outreach programs. All of this is where our students work under. Next slide, please. So who are we and what do we do? As you can see through the pictures, these are various activities that we have done, and these are some of them. There's a blood donation camp. You can see we have gone to old age homes. We had a jail visit where we surveyed the people there, and we also had women empowerment and other awareness programs. I'm honored to announce that all our programs are aligned with the SDG goals, and we as students, we think we are the key contributors in achieving these goals, and we actually want to work for them. We have students who are enthusiastic to make a difference, and the only barrier that we face there is the connect and the language barrier, which Nisha will elaborate on. Next slide, please. So to sum it up on what we do and who we are, this is the area of work that I've already talked about, and we have 5 villages. Now, our work is not limited to these 5 villages, but these are the villages that we are dedicated to. We do a lot of community outreach programs in any and every place we can get an opportunity. Anybody who needs our help, we're there to try our best and go there. Moving forward, our target group, as you already saw through the pictures, is not limited to anything. It's a very diverse target group. We have students, we have professionals, we have old people, younger students, we have women, and people from all areas of life who actually we can reach out to. And how this is relevant to Bhashini and everything we have discussed today and how it resonates with your work, Nishchay will elaborate on. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Archisha. And don't worry, we have already been instructed, so I won't eat on your lunch time. And very good afternoon to everyone. The previous slide. Okay, this is not me. So what will you see in the slide? This one. So this is the account of our initial days when our legal aid center was very nascent. We went to a village. This was an awareness camp on youth rights. We went to a government school in rural Haryana. And because this is our very first project, we were really excited to deliver and talk about youth rights, their education, their health rights, their right to choose their partner. And we created this whole script. We created all these materials. And when we actually went there and we started with the first word, I mean, it bombed. We could see that the students were disconnected. They were not able to get our point. We were not able to deliver what we actually wanted to deliver. You can see on their face that they were not getting our points, and there was confusion regarding that. Next slide. Similarly, this is our next project we went to, and this was a very different target group with women and ladies from rural Haryana, and this was about awareness on menstrual health. There also we prepared a very good script, and we had materials, but there was always a disconnect, I believe. I mean, we could see in their eyes that they were not engaging with us. We were not very inclusive with our delivery. I mean, we were able to deliver the information, but there was not actually transformation. I mean, we did our best. The operation was successful. However, the patient was dead. And so after coming back, we introspected on our delivery programs, and we got to know that the main problem that we are facing in this is the language barrier. I mean, the audience we are catering to, the community, the classes, they are very rural, and they like to talk in the regional languages. And one of the panelists, Dr. Mukherjee, said that you'll able to grasp more. The impact would be more when you are able to learn in a local language. There is sense of security. We adopted all those changes, and next slide. Next slide. Next slide. With our few resources, we tried to engage the local students of those villages who were well versed with the languages. They help us to create our plans, they help us to create our materials, and because with the help of them, we were able to cater much better than what the problems we are previously facing. Next slide. And there we could witness some changes with the change in language. When we were engaging in their language, we could see some changes. But what we realized is our program was still not able to reach its potential. And because we have limited number of students coming from those villages, and still those solutions are not scalable. And now when I saw the Bhashini initiative, and just sir talked about how the translation happens in the real time, the scale that we could work on, I mean, standing here, I could think of the solutions that we are going to implement in our legal aid centers, and we could translate, or we could turn the script of our lectures for these students. So I think it is a very great initiative, and we are going to implement it. And the Nipun app, I think that's going to help the government schools in Haryana a lot. We'll try to engage in that also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nishchay. You're doing a wonderful job. Okay, so yeah, so 2 more minutes, students. I invite Govind from KR Mangalam University. I request Govind to please keep it quick, crisp. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. One thing I'm sure of today is that hunger needs no language. And I would like to thank first Shobna ma'am, who introduced me to SDGs. So, So we have kind of worked upon SDGs. I will show you in the next slides that we have been to 2 villages. I tried to show them government apps only, but they were not able to understand many apps. You know why SDGs are there? SDGs are you should not look at SDGs in silos, that something would improve hunger, something would improve your way of life. We had to take, today, आज हमें 2 घंटे लगे गुड़गांव से यहाँ आने के लिए, उसमें भाई पेट्रोल जल रहा था, और हम सोच रहे थे कि भाई अरे यार पहुँच भी पाएंगे कि नहीं पहुँच पाएंगे. So उसमें हम ये देखते हैं कि भाई चीज़ें सिर्फ एक चीज़ से रिलेटेड नहीं है. आप किसी को बदल नहीं सकते, आप किसी को ये नहीं बोल सकते भाई आप ऐसा करोगे तो चीज़ें आपके लिए सही होंगी. चीज़ें जब आप अपने आप को खुद बदलेंगे ना, तब वो जाके सही होती हैं. और वही SDGs को हम अगर लोकल लैंग्वेजेस में लोगों को बताते हैं तो उनको चीज़ें ज़्यादा समझ में आती हैं. प्लीज नेक्स्ट स्लाइड. So these are the SDGs which I was talking about कि आप इन्हें silos में नहीं देख सकते. These are related to one another, and that I'll tell how you could do that. Please next slide. So importance of local languages in achieving SDGs are like it promotes inclusivity, it preserves cultural identity, and it enhances your communication level. Next slide, please. So our country comes in the 4th number when we have a number of local diversity, a number of languages in terms of diversities, and how to make so many people understand all these kind of things. Earlier, I used to think that Google Translator works very well, but now I'm seeing that Bhashini app has done a very wonderful, work. And since I'm from MBA 2023 batch, I think everything. I think in terms of business. I think what NPCI did for Paytm and every other digital apps, Bhashini would break the taboo which businesses have reached. Do you know there is a little bit of recession in business? When you go out for placements and when you look out in businesses, you would see Japan is in recession. So, but when you are going to the local language, for example, Amazon, if they're offering a very good product in their local language, in, for example, a menstrual product, that this thing would help you and something like that, they would definitely get it. But if you are promoting English and a very different languages to them, people do not understand. So these are the successful case studies of successful implementation of SDGs through local language. First one is about Canada. That Canada, being a developed country, has so many indigenous people. Indigenous people are like the tribes we have in Jharkhand, in Andaman and Nicobars. How to make them understand through English? We cannot. We need to bring something to them which they understand, and Canada has successfully implemented it. Kenya, introducing Swahili language in education has made people understand. They have been able to develop their education levels in SDG 4. India, you all know the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao Abhiyan and Pradhan Mantri Matritva Yojana. These all things have been able to develop our SDG 3 in good health in a very good way because they were in a language which caters to the understanding of people. These are the benefits of using local languages. There is an effective communication, as I said earlier, cultural integration, and enhanced behavior change. Let me show you what I did. Sorry for the technical glitches. Next slide, please. One more slide. Yeah. So Nuh is the most backward district of a very developed state, Haryana. And it's beside a very developed district that is Gurugram, which is a fantastic city in terms of infrastructure. So we went there and we found out, and these are communities, women who are doing entrepreneurship at different level. We were telling them about different schemes and they were not able to comprehend us. But then what we did, we tried to make them understand through our own understanding, and their expressions changed. They wanted to learn everything from us. They wanted to know how their children can get educated. They wanted to learn financial literacy. And see, finances are one of the most important things in every person's life. अगर आप लोगों को कमाना सिखा देते हो, मछली पकड़ना सिखा देते हो, तो उसको बार बार मछली देने से मतलब किसी को मछली मत दो, किसी को मछली पकड़ना सिखा दो. एक पुरानी कहावत है. So अगर आप उन्हें चीज़ें सिखा दोगे तो वो आपसे बेहतर काम करेंगे. So जो फाइनेंसेस, जो उमंग ऐप्स पे जब हमने इंग्लिश में उनको बताया, उनको चीज़ें समझ में नहीं आई, लेकिन जब हमने उन्हें हिंदी में बताया, उन्हें समझ में आई. अब now I think that with Bhashini app, this thing could be done in a very better manner. और आगे जाके वो next time when we will visit Nuh and show these people के भाई these things are available, they will be very happy and introduce them into their lives. So here I would like to conclude because a lot of time has gone. Thank you very much and take care.
I'll not take much time, but this is the last point in agenda, that is vote of thanks. So I'm adding one more point here. We want to exchange some important MOUs today with Bhashini. So I would like to have our CEO, Mr. Amitabh Nag, sir, to be on stage, please. And let's have some energy because it's a last point in the agenda, please. So the first MOU that we are signing is with one startup. It's Dubverse. So can I have Anuja, Nihar, and the team on the stage? So Dubverse is a startup that we are onboarding. We are having a nicely curated AI workbench that translates videos in the real time. And with the power of Bhashini, they will be providing the video services, translation services in 22 scheduled Indian languages. So, can exchange the MOUs, later we can sign it because we're short of time, please. Can I have cameraman, please? So Dubverse is incubated at IISc Art Park. I would like to thank IISc Art Park for this wonderful delivery also. Second is also coming as a strategic MOU. I would like to have Mr. Kunak Rai and his colleague to be on stage, please. Rudram Foundation, Rudram Dynamic Foundation is doing the capacity building for Central Armed Police Forces and Armed Forces by providing the strategic courses in the regional languages.
A big round of applause for Rudram Foundation, please. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Kunagji. So coming to the last point now. It's a vote of thanks. Not a formality, I'm just speaking from my heart. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, as we draw curtains to this event, I take this opportunity to express my heartfelt thanks to all those who have been made this event possible. I would like to begin by extending my thanks to our distinguished guest, Mr. S. Krishnan, Honorable Secretary of Ministry of Electronics and IT, Dr. Bhagwati Prasad Sharma, and Mr. Shambhi Sharp, who have taken time out of their busy schedules to grace this occasion and share their insights, which have made this event a truly enriching learning experience. I also thank our esteemed panelists for sharing their rich knowledge and ideas, which I'm sure many of us will incorporate into our current and future projects to make them more impactful and sustainable. Words are not enough to thank the entire team of Bhashini and the Ministry of Electronics for their unwavering support in shaping the event into what it is today. I'm from the meeting. A huge appreciation goes to our beloved Archana Chaudhary, National Project Officer, Strategic Partnership at UNESCO, and Mr. Amitabh Nag, CEO of Bhashini, for making this partnership possible between MGIEP and Bhashini, aiming to empower local Indian languages and benefit millions of learners across the nation. Thank you all for patiently listening to all panelists, and lunch is there is on second floor. Thank you, guys. And there's one more information. 1 minute? No? First page? Okay, second floor.